Chapter 3842. Chapter 3842. Investigate 2. Chapter 3842. Investigate 2. However, something happened at home as soon as the officer went back and finished writing the memorial to the throne. Someone came to see him. He narrowed his eyes when he saw the person. The visitor was Princess Rao's daily servant. "Sir, have we met before?" Saisha asked and glanced at him. The office head was a third-ranked official and one of the 3 chiefs of the judicial department. However, to Saisha, he was only an average official because her master was going to be the future king. Seeing Saisha, the office head sighed inwardly. Some things were bound to happen. "Sir, since you've recognized me, there's no need to beat around the bush. Let's get straight to the point." Saisha looked at the office head. The office head was so angry that he laughed. Because of what had happened to Chen, he had gone to see the eldest prince, who had been so mild and humble toward him. However, Princess Rao's maid was acting so arrogantly in front of him now. How interesting. The office head sat in a chair with a cold look in his eyes. Saisha frowned a little. Was he going to disrespect the princess? At that thought, she slowly walked up to the office head and stared at him. "Sir, what are you laughing at?" The office head didn't say anything and only stared at her. Saisha cleared her throat. "If I'm guessing correctly, you're investigating the incident in Chen's family, aren't you?" The office head didn't reply. Saisha stared at him. "My princess has something to say about this case." "Really?" The office head smiled at her. "I wonder what Princess Rao has to say." Saisha looked into his eyes and said in a warning tone, "My princess wants you to drop the case if you can. You're a busy man. Don't tire yourself out." The office head was so angry that he laughed. "Princess Rao wants to do whatever she wants? How arrogant. Do you have a different opinion?" Saisha frowned and was surprised because when the princess told her to come, she told her to just tell the old man to shut up. If Saisha repeated those words, the office head would be furious. But the fact was that Princess Rao was still furious over the death of 7 spiritual overlords. She had come up with several plans to catch Chen and the others all at once. The office head nodded. "Your princess can speak for herself if she has something to say." After that, he waved her off with a stern look on his face. "This isn't a place for a maid like you. Leave now." Saisha was dumbfounded. The officials had always been very polite to Princess Rao, for not only was His Majesty behind her, but the Patriarch was as well. At the thought of the omnipotent Patriarch, Saisha smirked. "So, I advise you to think it through." The office head waved his hand impatiently. "Get lost." Saisha gritted her teeth and threatened him. "Fine. If that's the case, don't blame us for what our princess will do. Don't come to us for help when the time comes." She turned to leave after that. She had thought that the office head would stop her, but he didn't. Instead, he smirked. "Terrific." Saisha left in a huff. A figure entered the study after she left. Chapter 3843. Chapter 3843. Investigate 3. Chapter 3843. Investigate 3. Just then, the wife of the office head entered the room. "My lord, that's Princess Rao's personal maid. Are you sure you can do this?" His wife gritted her teeth. The office head sighed. The eldest prince and Princess Rao are involved, and the competition for the throne isn't something to be taken lightly. We'll stay out of it and remain neutral. We'll only support His Majesty. His wife said, "If Princess Rao takes her revenge." The office head smiled bitterly. "She'll have to wait until she becomes the emperor." His wife said, "Apart from His Majesty, she also has the Patriarch. Isn't she the only one the Patriarch likes? Even His Majesty is on her side." The office head shook his head. "If she really is that kind of person, Northern Yin will have a darkest moment when she becomes the king. No, I won't allow." His wife smiled bitterly. She hoped it wouldn't come to that. After Saisha went back, she told Princess Rao about the office head's reaction. Princess Rao narrowed her eyes. "Is that really his reaction?" Saisha lowered her gaze and said respectfully, "I've been very polite, but he wouldn't drop the case no matter what." He even said that the memorial to the throne had been sent to the palace. According to the rules of the Northern Yin Kingdom, the memorial to the throne would be sent to the royal palace on the same day for His Majesty to see. The following morning, His Majesty would take it out for discussion. If the officials heard about it, Princess Rao was both angry and troubled. She was furious because she had lost so many capable cultivators. She only had so many spiritual overlords left. She had to be out of her mind to send so many of them, but she had no idea that the eldest prince's men would suddenly show up. She then recalled the arm of discipline, which had brought her to think about the ugly girl. Ever since she ran into that girl, she knew that she was going to be in trouble. It just didn't feel right. Kill her, Princess Rao said angrily. Her? Who? Sai Xiao was confused, but when she saw the murderous look in Princess Rao's eyes, she realized something. The ugly girl who lives in petty shop? Your Highness, we sent so many capable cultivators, but they still couldn't kill her. Now, plus, could it be the eldest prince's plan? Has he gotten wind of it already? Will he still have people guarding there? Sai Xia asked more questions. Princess Rao was furious. Fine, have someone keep an eye on her. Kill her as soon as she's alone. Princess Rao gritted her teeth. And make sure you get that arm. Her 18th birthday was coming up, and according to the patriarch, if everything went as planned, she would get that pill at her 18th birthday banquet. That way, she would be able to make great achievements in her cultivation and become the ruler of the kingdom. After all the medicine she had taken, all the supplementary cultivation techniques she had practiced, and all the hard work she had put in since she was little, she had to have that pill. Seeing the look on Princess Rao's face, Sai Xia didn't dare to say anything and only nodded. And send someone to stop the carriage from entering the palace. Stop the memorial to the throne before it reaches the king. Princess Rao wanted a stall. All she needed to do was to keep it a secret until after her birthday party. As long as she could get that primary heaven pill, the eldest prince would be nothing. Who else could compete with her for the throne? At that thought, Princess Rao looked pleased. Chapter 3844. Chapter 3844. Investigate 4. Chapter 3844. Investigate 4. It was true that she hadn't done anything all these years, but she had been fawning on the patriarch, and that was the right thing to do. Princess Rao was very pleased with herself for fawning over the patriarch. She smirked inwardly when she saw Sai Xiao leave. It would be great if she could stop the memorial to the throne, but if she couldn't do it in time. Princess Rao's eyes glinted coldly. She had to get started. Come out, she said coldly. A gray figure appeared in front of her. Lowering her voice, Princess Rao gave him instructions on what to do, and the person quickly left after receiving the order. Before long, Sai Xia came back, looking displeased. Your Royal Highness. With a long face, Sai Xia told Princess Rao that the people she sent couldn't stop the memorial. Sai Xia had thought that Princess Rao would vent her anger on her, that she would end up like Fei Yu. However, Princess Rao only waved her off and left her with some other instructions. Back at the shop, Hu Yanyi-Chen ran up to Feng Wu happily and said excitedly, Feng, I've done everything you asked of me. What's next? What shall we do next? Feng Wu wasn't alone. The eldest prince was with her as well. Right now, the eldest prince was looking at Hu Yanyi-Chen with an aggrieved look in his eyes. He was sitting there, but Hu Yanyi-Chen ignored him and was only talking to the girl. Feng Wu was forging a weapon at the moment. After the arm of discipline, Feng Wu decided to make something else. Feng Wu had planned to build herself a divine-level armor if she had more divine iron. Although the soft armor Jun Lin Yuan gave her earlier was very useful, it could protect her from both front and back. But she was short of divine iron, so she could only make some gadgets that would be useful soon. Seeing that Hu Yanyi-Chen was running happily toward her, Feng Wu glanced at him and didn't give him another look, for she couldn't afford to be distracted. Hu Yanyi-Chen wanted to say something, but the eldest prince gave him a warning glance. Hu Yanyi-Chen said, Your Royal Highness, there you are. The prince was so angry that he almost laughed. Why was it so hard to see Ye? living person like him. After that, Hu Yin just stood there and watched Feng Wu work. He didn't ask any more questions. The crown prince rolled his eyes at him. "Aren't you going to ask what happened after the incident last night?" Hu Yin cried out. "You know, that was hilarious." As the eldest prince and one of the heirs to the throne, he had a lot of connections. If he didn't know, who did? That girl. Crossing his hands behind his back, the crown prince snorted and waited for Hu Yin to ask the question. But Hu Yin didn't say anything. The eldest prince took a deep breath and calmed himself down. 15 minutes later, Feng Wu was finally done with her work. Hu Yin asked curiously, "What are you making?" "It looks like a mosquito." Feng Wu nodded. "Does it look like a real mosquito?" Hu Yin looked at it and nodded. "It does look like it. What does it do? Can it explode? Is it an offensive secret weapon?" Feng Wu said grumpily, "No, it's a detection device." Before Hu Yin could react, the prince's eyes lit up and he forgot about his little tantrum. Chapter 3845. Chapter 3845. New Invention 1. Chapter 3845. New Invention 1. The prince's eyes lit up. He quickly walked up to Feng Wu and stared at the inky black mosquito in Feng Wu's hand. He looked at Feng Wu in excitement and reached out. Feng Wu knew that the prince was her business partner these days, and she would have to depend on him if she wanted to meet the patriarch. At that thought, Feng Wu put the mosquito in the prince's hand. The prince held the mosquito with both hands and examined it closely. Hu Yin rolled his eyes at him. "What's there to see? It's just a toy." The prince looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment as well. "Is this mosquito used for detection? Can it fly?" Feng Wu nodded. No one knew how she did it, but the little thing the size of a black bean slowly rose from the prince's hand like a real mosquito. It flapped its wings and flew in the air. "That's true." The prince stared at the mosquito and heaved a long sigh. He then turned to Feng Wu. "Did you say this is a detector? How is it going to do that?" Feng Wu suddenly smiled and asked Hu Yin, "Do you want to know what your grandfather is doing?" Hu Yin said, "Isn't my grandpa sleeping in his room?" Feng Wu smiled. She then took out a white jade from her chest pocket and drew an inscription on it. The next moment, the mosquito flapped its wings and slowly flew toward old Hu Yin's room. It wasn't moving very fast and looked like a real mosquito. Soon, the mosquito stopped outside the room because the door was closed. Hu Yin laughed. "Look, your mosquito is so stupid." It flew around the door and was dumbfounded. "After all the effort you've put in, what good can it do? It's useless." However, Hu Yin was soon proven wrong. When a mosquito found a corner where it couldn't see clearly, it stuck its head forward and made a small hole. The rice-sized mosquito then flapped its wings and flew into old Hu Yin's room. Hu Yin mouth fell open, and he stared at Feng Wu. Is that even possible?" Feng Wu nodded. "Why not? But, it's a fake mosquito. How could it be so smart? It could poke holes with its antennae and choose a blind spot in the corner. That was incredible." Feng Wu smiled. "It's only like this because it's a fake mosquito." Meanwhile, the fake mosquito was hovering over old Hu Yin's head. Old Hu Yin wasn't asleep. He was sitting at his desk with a pen in his hand. He was writing something, and there were piles of paper scattered all over the floor. Feng Wu glanced at Hu Yin and commented, "Your grandfather's handwriting really isn't that good." "Huh?" Hu Yin looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment. "My grandpa's handwriting? Wait, how do you know how good my grandpa's handwriting is? You've never seen it before." The next moment, Feng Wu unfolded the white jade. There was a clear image on the white jade. In the image, old man Hu Yin was sitting at his desk, holding a pen in one hand and scratching his ear with the other. He looked like a hopeless student. Hu Yin cried out. Chapter 3846. Chapter 3846. New Invention 2. Chapter 3846. New Invention 2. Hu Yin pointed at the white jade. "You can see everything." Feng Wu nodded matter-of-factly. Chen was still shocked. I can't believe it. Although the image wasn't very clear or very big, Chen still saw what his grandfather was doing right away. He could even recognize the words he was writing. That's amazing! Chen cried out. You've been working on it this whole time. My grandpa is the best refiner in northern Yin, but he has never made anything like this. They're inscriptions, aren't they? Chen studied the white jade plate in Feng Wu's hand. Feng Wu nodded and tossed him the white jade plate. Chen caught it in a hurry, fearing that it might break. As a refiner, how could he not be excited when he saw something so amazing? The prince was equally excited. As a scheming man, he had come up with a million ways to make use of the detector. It would no doubt help him in his future competition for the throne. Show me. He wanted to take the token from Chen. But Chen wanted to see it as well. He couldn't bring himself to let go of it, so he clenched his fists. The prince threw a dirty look at Chen. Chen pretended that he didn't see anything. The prince feigned an angry tone and asked in a low voice, Chen? Chen was frustrated. He darted a resentful look at the prince and said reluctantly, What kind of prince are you? All you ever do is use your power to bully me. TSK. But no matter how reluctant he was, the prince was still the heir to the throne. Chen handed the mosquito to him in frustration. After taking it, the prince imitated Feng Wu and started working on the detector. Hey, it's coming out. Seeing that the mosquito had come out of the little cave after the prince had turned it around, Chen moved closer to take a closer look. The aggrieved look on his face was long gone. What a careless teenager. Feng Wu couldn't help but glance at Chen, and she was affected by his bright smile. Chen reminded her of someone she knew. Just then, the door opened with a thump. Old Huyen came out. But they weren't looking at the old man. Instead, they were looking at the mosquito that had been hovering over his head. Old Huyen came out and saw that the eldest prince was also there. He nodded at him. He then frowned at Feng Wu. Kiddo, are you sure this plan will work? Old Yin had focused all his attention on forging weapons and didn't have much of an advantage in terms of strategy. Not only had Feng Wu killed so many spiritual overlords, but she had also helped Chen to make a breakthrough. Therefore, Old Huyen recognized Feng Wu's intelligence. Feng Wu smiled. Yes. Old Huyen frowned. What's your plan? Feng Wu smiled. You have the right to report to the king, don't you? Write a memorial to the throne first. Old Huyen blushed. All he ever thought about was forging weapons, and he had never written a memorial to the throne before. Feng Wu said, Actually, you don't need to write anything fancy. You can just hand it a piece of paper. It's just a formality. Both Old Yin and the prince looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment. What did she mean by that? What would the blank paper do? Feng Wu nodded earnestly. Old Huyen said, That's why you're so sure. But someone still needs to. Feng Wu operated the jade plate, and with a thump, flames shot out. The fire was aimed at the old man's head, so fast that no one had time to react. Old Huyen's white hair was on fire. By the time Old Huyen put out the fire, he only had half his hair left. However, not only wasn't he angry, but he even held the mosquito as if it were a treasure. This is a treasure. Where did this come from? The patriarch was here. Chen said grumpily, Of course not. Boss Feng made it. Chen had been addressing Feng Wu as ugly girl, but he had changed it to Miss Feng the day before and was now Boss Feng. Old Huyen, on the other hand, was so excited to see the mosquito in his hands that he wanted to take it apart and study it. Chen said anxiously, Grandpa, this mosquito is very useful. Please don't destroy it. Old Huyen asked, Are there more? Chen looked at Feng Wu. Feng Wu shook her head. There's one more, but it's not loaded with high explosive bullets. After that, Feng Wu handed the other and used one to Old Huyen. After taking it, Old Huyen didn't care about Feng Wu's land anymore. He shut himself in a small black room and studied the mosquito with all his attention. To him, nothing could excite him more than studying something new. After sending old Huyin away, Feng Wu let out a breath of relief as well. She then turned to the eldest prince. "Shall we begin?" The prince smiled and stuck out his right hand like Feng Wu did the day before. "Happy working with you. Happy working with you." Feng Wu drew back her hand after a light touch, and the prince marched off after her. He would be the one to carry out the plan. According to Feng Wu, if this could happen, Princess Rao, who had lost some of her strength, would suffer a huge loss. Chapter 3848, Chapter 3848, Ongoing 1. Chapter 3848, Ongoing 1. In the royal palace of Northern Yen, Princess Rao entered the palace. She went to the Imperial study first and was stopped at the door because His Majesty was going through the memorials and no one was to disturb him. Princess Rao's face was as calm as still water. She then whispered something in the eunuch's ear. However, the young eunuch shook his head with a pale face. Princess Rao frowned and said coldly, "His Majesty will leave when the time comes." Hearing that, the young eunuch finally nodded, as if he was ready to die. Seeing that he had stiffened and slowed down, Princess Rao warned him, "If you tell anyone, you'll be decapitated." The young eunuch shuddered. He then straightened his back and moved naturally. After that, Princess Rao quickly went to see her mother. The queen was sipping her tea, and the atmosphere in the palace was very peaceful. However, when Princess Rao told her about the current situation, the queen frowned. "Is that true?" Princess Rao didn't behave like a peacock in front of the queen. Instead, she looked very innocent. The queen was sitting, and Princess Rao knelt down in front of her. She buried her face in the queen's palm and said, "Mother, all 7 spiritual overlords are dead. Huyen Chin still won't let me go. He's going to report to my father. Mother, Huyen Chin isn't capable enough to do that." The queen didn't seem flustered at all. She remained unperturbed. After taking a sip of her tea, she said with a grim look on her face, "The eldest prince is involved now. He's the only one who's capable enough to do that. He's also the one who wants to take you down. Mother, I don't think my brother is the only one. There's also that mysterious girl." The ordinary-looking girl appeared in Princess Rao's mind. She wasn't all that stunning, but her eyes were like twinkling stars in the night sky. Hence, she told the king about the girl who had shown up in the shop, but the queen didn't think much of it. She's just a girl with no spiritual essence. What's important is to hush this thing up. The queen stared at Princess Rao. "What are you going to do?" Princess Rao said, "What happened. Huyen Chin and my brother were the witnesses. It was said that the head of the punishment office went to examine the scene, and they have all 7 dead spiritual overlords. The head has sent a memorial to the throne, and it can blow up at any moment." The queen's face darkened. Princess Rao said, "We have 2 options now. One is to admit to my father what I've done, but I'm sure he won't forgive me that easily. The second option is to burn the memorial." Empress Dugu said, "Even if we do that, the office head can always write another one." Princess Rao said, "I'll go see him myself and ask him to stall for a few days. I'm sure it'll work." Empress Dugu asked, "What about Huyen Chin or your brother? Are they going to wait?" Princess Rao said, "I just need a few more days." "How about—" She whispered something in the queen's ear. "How dare you?" The queen smacked the table and glared at Princess Rao. Princess Rao immediately knelt down and put on a pitiful look. The queen threw a dirty look at her. Princess Rao tugged at the queen's sleeve. "Mother, I'll be fine when the patriarch comes out of his seclusion. I'll be fine when I have the pill for my birthday." Chapter 3849, Chapter 3849, Ongoing 2. Chapter 3849, Ongoing 2. The queen took a deep breath. "You? That's enough. Get up." Princess Rao smiled with tears in her eyes. "Mother, would you like to help?" The queen jabbed a finger in her forehead. "If I don't help you, who am I going to help? Your brother?" After that, the queen gave some instructions to her maid, who nodded and quickly walked away. Princess Rao said, "Mother," the queen said, "your father dotes on concubine May these days. Let her go." "Mother, that's brilliant." Princess Rao was over the moon. As expected, after Lady May coaxed the king away, the study was empty. Princess Rao finally let out a breath of relief and told her mother, "Mother, don't worry. I've arranged for someone in the study to burn the memorials. As for father, mother, how about you let him stay sick for a few days? When that happens, my brother and Hunichin won't dare to disturb him, and the office head can only postpone the investigation indefinitely." The Empress frowned. "Your father isn't just anyone. I'm afraid that ordinary medicine." Just then, Princess Rao took a potion out of her chest pocket and handed it to the queen. The queen was confused. "What's that?" "It's a semi-divine potion," said Princess Rao in a low voice. "Let him drink it, and he'll." The queen didn't like the idea, but Princess Rao kept persuading her and said, "My father is with concubine May. Even if something happens, concubine May will be the one to answer for it. So, mother, what are you afraid of?" The queen agreed. If she could get rid of concubine May with this incident. But I'm the one who recommended concubine May. She's still useful. It'll be such a shame to destroy her now. The queen sounded reluctant. Princess Rao smirked. "Mother, you're too kind. Haven't you noticed? Concubine May has been getting more and more disobedient in the past few months, and she's been behaving like a spoiled child now and then." The queen paled a little. Princess Rao said, "You did recommend her to the king, but now that she's earned my father's favor, she doesn't think it's because of you anymore. Mother, she's disloyal." "Raushi," the queen's voice was authoritative. But Princess Rao wasn't afraid. "Mother, you have to prove that you can make her popular, but can also tramp her to death. That way, she'll be obedient. Otherwise, she'll jump around even more and backfire on you. Can you accept that?" The queen was lost in her thoughts. Princess Rao was still trying to persuade her. "This is our best chance. Mother, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone." The queen said, "I'll think about it." Semi-divine potion aside, things didn't go as smoothly as Princess Rao thought. That was because the study was on fire. Little Lu, the young eunuch, didn't know what happened. When His Majesty wasn't around, he opened the door and snuck in to look for the memorial. However, he couldn't find it after searching for a long time, and somehow there was a fire all of a sudden. He didn't use any fire. Why was the room on fire all of a sudden? Little Lu was confused. Apart from him, there was only one mosquito flying around. To make it worse, when he tried to run, he realized that the door was locked. There was no way he could get away. Gosh, Little Lu thought he was going to lose his mind. Flames quickly swept across the study, which was filled with flammable paper and wood. Chapter 3850. Chapter 3850. Northern Yin Palace. Chapter 3850. Northern Yin Palace. The Queen and Princess Rao rose to their feet when they heard the news. The Queen threw a dirty look at Princess Rao. "Did you order someone to burn down the study?" Things would get out of hand if the study was burnt down. This wasn't a small matter anymore. It was a matter of great importance. All the officials would be involved, and it would get out of hand. Princess Rao was equally dumbfounded. She couldn't understand it. Everything had been going smoothly for her until recently. Now, nothing seemed to go as planned. Everything seemed to have changed since she started targeting Feng Wu. The Queen threw a dirty look at Princess Rao. "You really didn't order the Imperial study to be burnt down?" Princess Rao tried to explain. "Mother, why should I burn the study? What good will it do for me?" The Queen agreed, but it was still troublesome. "Get rid of that eunuch before you're incriminated." She cast a stern look at Princess Rao. Princess Rao nodded and was about to get down to business, but Empress Dugu stopped her. "Forget it. I'll take care of everything in the palace. Just stay out of it and pretend you don't know anything." Princess Rao immediately went up to the Queen and held her arm. "Mother, I know you're the best. When I become the crown princess, I'll share Northern Yin with you." The Queen liked the sound of that. She nodded with a smile. However, The eldest prince was behind this, and it wouldn't be so easy for the queen to get rid of him. The more she tried, the more mistakes she would make. The eldest prince had never been so happy. Ever since his father put him on the same level as Princess Rao, he had been having a hard time. Princess Rao had the queen and the patriarch behind her, but he had no one but himself. As a result, he had been losing ground this whole time. However, it worked wonders when he teamed up with Feng Wu. He now had a lot of evidence on Princess Rao. Needless to say, the mosquito had set the study on fire. She was indeed a genius girl of the Junwu Empire. The prince sighed inwardly. He had no idea when she had come up with this plan, but it had slowly trapped Princess Rao. And Lady May, suppressing his excitement, the prince went on with what he was going to do. After leaving Princess Rao to the prince, Feng Wu had nothing better to do. However, she didn't stay idle either, for she still remembered her goal. She had to see Huyin Yanba as soon as possible. I need to go to court, Feng Wu told Huyin Chen. Huyin Chen cried out, Go to court? Now. Feng Wu nodded. Now. Huyin Chen was confused. What are we doing in court? Is it that urgent? Feng Wu nodded. Yes. I thought you wanted to take revenge for your sister. Huyin Chen asked excitedly. Can we kill Huyin Hongju now? Feng Wu shook her head. Soon. Huyin Chen was excited. All right, I'll do it for you. But after we get to the Imperial Palace, Feng Wu said, just send me to the prince. Feng Wu could have gone to court herself if she took a little risk, but since she had other means, why should she? Huyin Chen went off to work, and he came back to report to Feng Wu 5 minutes later. Chapter 38:51. Chapter 38:51. Northern Yin Palace 2. Chapter 38:51. Northern Yin Palace 2. Huyin Chen was ready in 5 minutes. He told Feng Wu that she could go to court now. As expected, Huyin Chen was a capable man. He escorted Feng Wu to the eldest prince. The prince was surprised to see Feng Wu, but with his capability, he could arrange for Feng Wu to stay with him. Just pretend to be my maid, said the prince. Feng Wu nodded. However, he was still curious. Why are you in such a hurry to go to court in the middle of the night? Feng Wu said simply, I'm waiting for someone. The prince asked, Who are we waiting for? Feng Wu smiled. Your patriarch, of course. Both the prince and Huyin Chen stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. They trusted Feng Wu's capability, so they knew that she wasn't lying. If she said she was waiting for something, she probably was. The patriarch will be here today. How? The prince shook his head. Feng Wu glanced at him and said, Keep an eye on your father tonight. The prince's stomach lurched. My father. Before Feng Wu could say anything, she heard an anxious voice a short distance away. Master, quickly, come to the plum garden. It was a young eunuch sent by the eldest prince. The prince couldn't help but glance at Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded. I'm coming with you. The prince was about to say something when Feng Wu grinned. I'm a good doctor. I'm a semi-divine medicine refiner. Gosh, both the prince and Huyin Chen coughed. Huyin Chen said grumpily, I would believe you if you said you were a supreme-level medicine refiner, but a semi-divine one? Don't make me laugh. Feng Wu shrugged. She wasn't joking this time, but the others didn't believe her. Fine. The prince quickly led Feng Wu toward Lady May's courtyard. Before they entered, they heard Lady May sobbing. I have no idea. His Majesty just suddenly... It was all my fault. She kept talking between broken sobs. Because of the fire in the study and the sudden stroke of the Northern Yin King, the Imperial Palace was in a mess. Many physicians were already treating the king when the prince went in, but they were all too terrified to do anything. Although the king had had a stroke, he was still conscious. He was staring at them with his terrifying eyes. The queen didn't expect this either. She had never expected that the potion would give the king a stroke. As a matter of fact, the king hadn't appointed an heir yet, and the patriarch had never mentioned that Princess Rao had gained his support. The princess had always been the one to talk about it. However, the officials were obviously on the prince's side. Therefore, it wouldn't do Princess Rao any good if the king died. The queen's face was livid, and the look she gave Princess Rao was rather frightening. Princess Rao was dumbfounded. Wasn't it a semi-divine potion? She had spent a small fortune on it to keep her father unconscious for a few days. That way, all eyes would be on her father's illness, and no one would bother him over such a petty matter. It was all part of Princess Rao's plan, but the king was indeed sick. He had a stroke and was physically paralyzed. However, his eyes were so wide open that he looked like he wanted to eat someone alive. Chapter 3852. Chapter 3852. Meet the Patriarch 1. Chapter 3852. Meet the Patriarch 1. King Yin was furious. He had no idea what was going on. He only came here to take a break at Concubine May's place when he heard that the study was on fire. He had to go to study as soon as he received the news, but somehow he fell out of bed. Not only did he crack his head, but he couldn't move either. It was as if he had had a stroke. Had he really had a stroke? The thought made the king uneasy, but the physicians didn't know what to do. Not only that, but they also tried to shirk responsibility from each other. No one dared to step out to take the blame, which infuriated the king. Even with the queen here, things didn't get any better. The king's eyes lit up when he thought of a certain person. He then stared at Princess Rao. Princess Rao didn't understand at first. She knelt in front of the king, held his hand, and cried. The king was frustrated. He could barely move his eyes, but after trying his best, he only managed to twitch an eyelash. As it turned out, Princess Rao didn't understand at all. How stupid could she be? The eldest prince seemed to realize something and asked gingerly, "Father, do you mean that you want the Patriarch to come here?" The king's eyelashes quivered again. It was very difficult to meet the Patriarch, even for the king. But now that he was like this, the only person that could save him was the Patriarch. Princess Rao immediately realized what he wanted. That's right. The Patriarch is invincible. I'm sure he'll know what to do. I'm sure he can save my father. Wiping away her tears, Princess Rao looked at the king in delight. "Father, please wait. I'll go to the Patriarch now. If he doesn't come, I'll kneel and kowtow until he comes with me." The king was so pleased that his eyelashes quivered again. "I'll go now." Princess Rao soon left. Meanwhile, the queen let out a breath of relief. As long as the Patriarch was here, he would be able to save His Majesty. Moreover, after His Majesty was saved, half of the credit would go to Raoshi, which would benefit her greatly. At that thought, the queen smiled even wider. She had already forgotten that it was the eldest prince who had reminded her to bring the Patriarch here. Meanwhile, the prince looked confused. It was obvious that the arrival of the Patriarch would benefit Raoshi, but why did Feng Wu say that it would benefit him this time? That was right. Feng Wu had reminded him on their way here. Raoshi returned sooner than they expected. The king looked past her shoulder. Right now, Raoshi was all by herself. There was no one behind her. Was the Patriarch not coming? The king panicked a little. He wasn't the only one. The others panicked as well. Was the Patriarch away, or was he unable to treat the king? No one thought that it was the second possibility because he was omnipotent. However, the first thing Raoshi said was, "The Patriarch is in the tower, but he said he wasn't coming and that we should send my father to him." No one noticed that little Zhao, the king's eunuch, had been dragged to a corner. Chapter 3853. Chapter 3853. Meet the Patriarch 2. Chapter 3853. Meet the Patriarch 2. Feng Wu reacted quickly. She had planned for so long just to meet that legendary Patriarch. She had thought that the Patriarch would come here to treat the king, but the old man was more respected than she had expected. He had asked the apoplexy-stricken king to go to him. Under normal circumstances, Feng Wu wouldn't be able to get in. She could only see the old man if she became someone close to the king. Feng Wu had been lying in wait since the first time she met Princess Rao. No, she hadn't started even before meeting the princess, but it was time to take action. Soon, Feng Wu disguised herself as little Zhao and the real one was hidden away by the eldest prince's men. That was how convenient it was to have someone in court. The eldest prince wasn't included in the group that headed for the tower. Thanks to Princess Rao's subtle hints over the years, everyone had come to the conclusion that she was the closest to the patriarch, who didn't like the eldest prince at all. In the end, the queen, Princess Rao, and a few eunuchs and maids went with the king. Little Zhao, whom Feng Wu had impersonated, was among them. Soon, they arrived at the tower. The tower that wasn't open to outsiders had countless seals, and ordinary people couldn't get in. Right now, there was a giant eagle that was as tall as a grown man. It stood on its hind legs and stared coldly at the crowd. The seals on the door had been lifted, but the eagle wasn't happy to see so many people. It spoke in human language and sounded impatient. "No, there are too many people." The queen stepped out and smiled obsequiously. "We've left quite a few people behind so that we won't disturb the patriarch. How about?" However, the eagle reprimanded her without hesitation. "Aren't you going to disturb all these people?" The queen blushed at the giant eagle's reprimand, but she didn't dare to retort. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was talking to Little Phoenix. "Is that bird?" Feng Wu asked curiously. However, Little Phoenix turned its head away and pretended that it didn't hear her. However, Feng Wu wasn't going to let it go. She asked with a smile, "Is it the eagle that has stopped you from going in and fighting with you?" Little Phoenix looked embarrassed and ignored Feng Wu. Feng Wu was laughing inwardly. By then, the eagle had finished scolding the queen and told them, "No more than 3. 3? That included the king." That was to say, apart from the king, only 2 people could go in. Both the king and Princess Rao had to go in. As for the rest of the people, Princess Rao smiled obsequiously. "Grandpa Eagle, when are we going to come out? Do we need to go into seclusion?" The giant eagle didn't like Princess Rao much and said coldly, "You're coming out when the king recovers. Do you want to leave alone? Opening the seal is a big deal." Princess Rao was rendered speechless. Feng Wu looked at Princess Rao in bewilderment. That didn't sound right. According to Princess Rao, the patriarch doted on her. Why would his eagle scold her? Moreover, it didn't show her any respect and was only slightly better than when it spoke to the queen. It didn't take the princess long to make up her mind. She and the king would go in, and she would bring a maid with her. Of course, that was to take care of her father. Chapter 3854. Chapter 3854. Meet the Patriarch 3. Chapter 3854. Meet the Patriarch 3. However, when Princess Rao lowered her head, she didn't see a young eunuch quickly approach the eagle and stuff something under its wing. A bribe? The giant eagle smirked inwardly. It wasn't the kind of eagle that could be bought off. However, the giant eagle's eyes lit up when it saw what it was, and it put it away with a straight face. It said, "Only 2 people will come in, the king and you." After that, the giant eagle picked up one with each wing. One was the king, and the other one was Feng Wu. The seal began to close as soon as the giant eagle pulled the 2 of them in. By then, Princess Rao finally realized what had happened, but it was too late. Why is this happening? Princess Rao couldn't believe her eyes. She couldn't believe that the eagle had turned her away. The door quickly closed. Princess Rao and the queen looked at each other. It would be very difficult for them to go in now. The queen narrowed her eyes and gave Princess Rao a questioning look. Involuntarily, the princess lowered her gaze. The queen took a deep breath and fought back her anger. Luckily, they were all on the same side here, so there was no need to spread rumors. "I'm sure His Majesty will be all right." The queen left 2 people outside the tower, while she took Princess Rao back to the Imperial Palace. As for what the mother and daughter had discussed in the bedchamber behind closed doors, no one knew. All the maids in the Imperial Palace knew was that the queen had smashed a cup. Meanwhile, Feng Wu had been taken into the tower by the giant eagle, and the sealed door was closed. It was almost impossible for her to get out. Feng Wu was happy, but Little Phoenix was dumbfounded. "Are we in?" Little Phoenix couldn't believe its eyes. Feng Wu said matter-of-factly, That's right, little Phoenix said. And that princess isn't qualified to come in. Feng Wu said matter-of-factly. That's right, little Phoenix said, because you gave the ugly eagle something. Feng Wu chuckled. It's not just a little thing. It's something I found in the Hua family. Little Phoenix shook its head. Had it known that things would turn out this way, it would have saved Feng Wu all the trouble. So many things had happened, and so many things could have gone wrong. Little Phoenix was so frustrated. Feng Wu, on the other hand, didn't think Little Phoenix would bring itself to bribe the eagle. With her sharp eyes, Feng Wu could tell right away that the giant eagle was full of yang energy and that the yin energy was damaged. It just so happened that she had stolen a treasure from the Hua family's vault that could nourish the yin energy, which was why the giant eagle was over the moon. It treated Feng Wu better than it treated the king. It put Feng Wu down first before putting the king down on the bed, and Feng Wu could tell it wasn't as gentle when it handled the latter. This giant eagle was an interesting bird. Apart from a stone bed, there was nothing else in the spacious room. The king's eyes were still wide open. That was to say, he could see and sense everything, but he couldn't speak or move. Chapter 3855. Chapter 3855. Meet the Patriarch 4. Chapter 3855. Meet the Patriarch 4. Feng Wu wondered when the Patriarch would arrive. She was a little excited at the thought that she would soon meet her legendary sixth senior brother. Before long, the stone door opened on its own. Feng Wu and the giant eagle looked in the direction of the door. An old man with white hair and beard walked out of the door with an indifferent look on his face. The look in his eyes was so cold that no one dared to approach him. The giant eagle dared to scold the queen, but when the old man was around, it lowered its head obediently. It's him! It's him! Little Phoenix's excited voice rang out in Feng Wu's head, and it murmured, "But why is he like this? Why is he so old? He's as ugly as everyone else when he's old." Little Phoenix's last sentence almost amused Feng Wu, and she had to fight back her laughter. However, it still caught the Patriarch's attention. He turned his sharp gaze on Feng Wu. Feng Wu immediately lowered her head and didn't dare to make any unnecessary movements. The old man didn't pay much attention to Feng Wu. After all, she was playing a young eunuch now. The Patriarch walked up to the Emperor, examined him, and checked his pulse. Emperor Yan was relieved to see the Patriarch. The old man was omnipotent, so he was sure that he would be all right. However, he frowned as soon as he checked the king's pulse. Before long, he heaved a long sigh and shook his head. What was that supposed to mean? The old man said, "It's not easy to treat you." The king was dumbfounded. The old man shook his head again. "No one can cure you." The king was shocked. What happened to the omnipotent Patriarch? Was he going to stay this way forever? The king struggled violently and had a strong desire to live. He didn't want to stay bedridden like this. He still had his kingdom to run and his ambitions to achieve. However, the Patriarch heaved a long sigh. "If my master were here, he might be able to save you. I'm not good at medicine, so there's nothing I can do." The old man looked frustrated and sad. He looked up at the small window on the east side and said, "Master, where are you? I missed you." He burst into tears after that. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. She had always thought that the Patriarch was an invincible ruler, but as it turned out, he was someone who would cry. Little Phoenix said grumpily, "I told you already. Yamba was picked up by your master when he was little. He used to cry all the time. He's old now, but he's still like that." Feng Wu didn't know what to say when she saw the way Little Phoenix commented on the Patriarch. He was the Patriarch of Northern Yin, not a crybaby. If other people heard what the bird said, they would probably kill Little Phoenix. The king looked at the old man in resignation. He was probably used to the old man's nostalgia for his master, so he remained very calm. Chapter 3856. Chapter 3856. Junior Sister 1. Chapter 3856. Junior Sister 1. "Help me," The king had no choice but to remind the patriarch. He used all his strength to say those words. The patriarch glanced at the king and heaved a sigh. I'll send you some spiritual essence. That's my only option. Let's see how much it can help you. Cure him? That was impossible. The king couldn't believe his eyes. Wasn't the patriarch supposed to be omnipotent? But he was right. The patriarch was indeed an expert in refining weapons, but his medical skills, as expected, when the patriarch injected his spiritual essence into the king's internal organs, it did help with his condition. At least he could talk now. Thank you, master. The king let out a breath of relief. It was already a big step for him to be able to speak again. He just needed to hold on a little longer. However, as soon as he thought that, the patriarch shattered his hope. Don't overthink it. I've done everything I can. There's nothing else I can do, the patriarch said indifferently. The king was baffled. Although he could speak, he still couldn't move. Master, what should I? The king had a lot of respect for the patriarch. The patriarch waved his hand and said calmly, Unfortunately, my second senior brother isn't here. He's the best doctor. If we can find him, we may be able to treat you. Then, where can we? The king asked. The old man looked nostalgic again. He waved his hand and rose to his feet. Master, master, the king panicked. What was going on? Was he going to be like this forever? However, the old man didn't stop just because of that. Just then, the young eunuch, who had been standing next to the king's bed, moved. He ran after the old man. The king was pleased. Little Zhao was indeed a loyal servant. Meanwhile, little Zhao followed the patriarch out of the room. The old man frowned when he heard the noise, but he didn't linger. No one could catch up with him. Just then, Feng Wu suddenly called out, Hu Yin Yanba. Feng Wu's voice almost frightened the eagle to death. That name. It threw a dirty look at Feng Wu and was going to drag her out. However, at that moment, a little bird flew out and blocked the eagle's way. The two birds started fighting right away. Hu Yin Yanba. The patriarch stopped abruptly when he heard that name. It had been years since anyone used that name, so long that he had forgotten about it. He suddenly turned around and saw a young eunuch standing a short distance away. Looking past Feng Wu, the old man looked to his left and right, but there was no one there. He must have been hallucinating. Senior brother Hu Yin. Feng Wu wiped the disguise off her face and showed him her real face. The patriarch narrowed his eyes. That face. You. Patriarch Hu Yin quickly walked up to Feng Wu and stared at her. Your junior sister. Are you really her? He was thrilled. Although there's only a 50% to 60% resemblance. Are you really my junior sister? Exhilarated, Patriarch Hu Yin burst into tears. Chapter 38:57. Chapter 38:57. Junior Sister 2. Chapter 38:57. Junior Sister 2. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She had thought that it would take a lot of effort to convince her sick senior brother, but as it turned out, he was already addressing her as junior sister. Feng Wu was confused. How do you know I'm her? Patriarch Hu Yin nodded repeatedly. Yes, you look just like her. Although you don't look exactly the same, you're definitely my junior sister. I didn't know you were really reincarnated. You're so cruel. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. What reincarnation? What cruelty? She didn't understand. Feng Wu wanted to ask more questions, but Master Hu Yin suddenly stopped and smiled bitterly. Oh my, what am I talking about? Feng Wu looked at him in bewilderment. Patriarch Hu Yin waved his hands repeatedly. The secrets of heaven can't be divulged. If that happens, my master will kill me when he comes back. By the way, Patriarch Hu Yin's eyes lit up. Grabbing Feng Wu, he asked excitedly, Junior, sister, where's my master? Have you seen him? Is he really alive? Feng Wu asked, How do you know that? Patriarch Hu Yin said excitedly, My master is invincible and omnipotent. He survived 10,000 tribulations, and he's been everywhere. How can he be dead? Even if everyone in this world is dead, he's still alive. Feng Wu thought, This old man is such a loyal fan of my beautiful master. Feng Wu looked back at the stone room. Only then did Patriarch Huyin realize what was going on. He told the eagle, "Take him back to the Imperial palace." He couldn't talk to his junior sister while an outsider was there. He had a lot of questions for his junior sister. Just then, Feng Wu chuckled. "If we send the king out, everyone will know that. Their patriarch isn't omnipotent." The old man said grumpily, "I never am. They can say whatever they want." Feng Wu said, "Isn't that a humiliation to our sect?" The old man said, "Too bad that your second senior brother died in the war. Otherwise, his medical skills would be incredible. He can treat anything. He's a semi-divine medicine refiner, second only to my master." "A semi-divine medicine refiner?" Feng Wu rubbed her chin. Patriarch Huyin nodded. "That's right. He's very impressive." Unfortunately, before he could finish, Feng Wu smiled. "Sixth senior brother, I can treat the king." Patriarch Huyin looked at Feng Wu in amazement. He didn't think his junior sister could do it because she didn't have medical skills back then. Feng Wu nodded. "Yes, I can. I'm the reason he's like this now." After that, Feng Wu told him everything, starting from how she came all the way from the Junwu Empire to see Huyin Yanba. After much hardship, she finally arrived at the Northern Yin Kingdom but was stopped by the tower. She was going to fly Little Phoenix in, but the bird couldn't make it. In the end, she had no choice but to use this method. Patriarch Huyin's mouth fell open. Was his junior sister still so capable after she reincarnated? She had single-handedly shaken the entire Northern Yin Kingdom and dragged the king down with her. That was incredible. "Wait, Brother Phoenix?" Patriarch Huyin cried out. Looking over his shoulder, he saw a little bird on Feng Wu's shoulder. Chapter 3858. Chapter 3858. Junior Sister 3. Chapter 3858. Junior Sister 3. It reminded him of when the bird used to stand on his master's shoulder. Patriarch Huyin was so excited that his face turned scarlet red, and he burst into tears. "Brother Phoenix." Seeing Little Phoenix, Master Huyin was so excited that he almost burst into tears again. Feng Wu sighed inwardly. Little Phoenix was right. The old man was indeed a crybaby. When Little Phoenix landed on Huyin Yanba's shoulder, the giant eagle shuddered. What the heck? They knew the patriarch. Little Phoenix was complaining to Patriarch Huyin and wouldn't stop talking. It even glanced at the giant eagle, which scared the latter out of its wits. "How dare that bird stop you? I'll smack it for you." Patriarch Huyin was on Little Phoenix's side. The giant eagle almost burst into tears, but it didn't say that it knew you. The giant eagle was a very capable cultivator at the peak of the spiritual overlord stage. It could stop Little Phoenix, and everyone would address it as Master Eagle. Even if the queen was here, it could use the power of Master Huyin to scold her. But now it was terrified. Master Huyin didn't expect that Master Phoenix, who used to be so capable, couldn't even defeat a little eagle. He felt so sorry for the bird. However, it pained Patriarch Huyin to hear what Little Phoenix said about Feng Wu. "Junior sister, you've lost your cultivation ability, haven't you?" Patriarch Huyin checked Feng Wu's pulse in a hurry. "Good. It's only temporary. If it's permanent, even the primordial heaven pill will be useless." Patriarch Huyin let out a breath of relief and led Feng Wu inside. "Our master let me hold onto such a pill, and I've been guarding it for you for years. I didn't expect to see you here." Recalling a rumor, Feng Wu asked curiously, "But sixth senior brother, didn't they say that Princess Raoshi would be given this pill for her birthday this year?" However, Patriarch Huyin's eyes widened. "Raoshi? Who's that?" Feng Wu cleared her throat and pointed at the king. "His daughter." "Oh, you mean her," said Patriarch Huyin. "She does come here quite often to clean the tower, but she never stays long, and she's not allowed inside. By the way, what did you say? What about her birthday?" Feng Wu was astonished. "Cleaning? Did Princess Raoshi come to the tower just to clean the place?" But Feng Wu remembered that the rumor she heard was. Feng Wu couldn't help but ask that question. Patriarch Huyin frowned. "She's here to clean the room?" Isn't she? With a bucket and a cloth? The last part of the question was directed at the giant eagle. After all, there was only one person and one eagle in the tower. The giant eagle nodded. That's right. She'll be here in 2 days. You'll see. Taking Feng Wu's hand, Patriarch Huyin said, Let's go. Your cultivation level is the most important thing. You don't need to worry about such petty things. After that, he tried to drag Feng Wu away. Feng Wu tossed a bottle of potion to the eagle. This is to treat the king. 1 dose a day, and he'll be fine in 3 days. The giant eagle immediately said yes. Patriarch Huyin, on the other hand, didn't have time for such petty things. Ever since Feng Wu showed up, he had been paying all his attention to her. All he could think of was how to help Feng Wu recover her ability and improve her physical strength. Chapter 38:59. Chapter 38:59. Junior Sister 4. Chapter 38:59. Junior Sister 4. Here we go. Patriarch Huyin smacked his own head. How could I have forgotten about it? The pill is meant for you. Let's go. He dragged Feng Wu away. In the main hall, Patriarch Huyin checked Feng Wu's pulse again and let out a breath of relief. Good. You'll be back to normal in 3 days. After that, he took out the treasure he had been keeping for years and handed it to Feng Wu. This is the primary heaven pill. Take it. Feng Wu finally saw the legendary pill. It was the size of a baby's fist and was as fair and plump as a steam bun. However, the dense spiritual essence was almost spilling out of the pill. One breath and Feng Wu felt as if all her cells had been activated. The spiritual essence was so dense that it seemed to reach her soul. Feng Wu looked at the patriarch in amazement. Should I swallow it? Shaking his head, Patriarch Huyin said earnestly, Hold it in your hand and slowly bring the spiritual essence into your meridians. That's not enough. In the end, you'll have to integrate it into your body. When that happens, His eyes lit up. When that happens, you'll be as brilliant as a star. Junior sister, this is the only primary heaven pill in the world. My master made it himself. There's no second one. Feng Wu suddenly became curious. Rumor has it that the pill will die down in a few days, and the effect will start to wear off. So, everyone is saying that you're going to give it to Princess Raoshi. Is that just a rumor? Patriarch Huyin said grumpily, No matter how weak the pill becomes, it's still a divine-level pill. If you weren't here, why would I give it to someone else? I can take it myself. Seeing the angry look on his face, Feng Wu chuckled. Princess Raoshi's behavior reminded her of someone else. Don't overthink it. Your top priority now is your cultivation and physical quality. Patriarch Huyin poked his junior sister's forehead affectionately. Forget about it. You don't have any spiritual essence now, and we can't let that happen anymore. With your weak physical quality, killing you will be as easy as killing an ant. If anything happens to you, I'll never forgive myself. Patriarch Huyin let Feng Wu start, but he didn't go out himself. Not only did he have to guard Feng Wu, but he also had to send her spiritual essence to help with her cultivation. Time ticked by. Just as Patriarch Huyin said, Feng Wu was slowly getting her cultivation ability back. Spiritual Master, Spiritual Grandmaster, Spiritual Elder. She soon reached the peak of the Spiritual King stage. Before, Feng Wu was already a junior spiritual overlord, but now, she had reached the peak of the Spiritual King stage in a day. Seeing the rapid increase in Feng Wu's cultivation level, Master Huyin was baffled as well. His junior sister seemed to be even more talented than she used to be. That was incredible. She was only in her teens, but she was already. However, before he knew it, Feng Wu had become a junior spiritual overlord. Master Huyin was speechless. He had expected that the girl would only become a junior spiritual overlord at most, but to his surprise, Feng Wu's cultivation level was still rising. Chapter 3860. Chapter 3860. Peak Spiritual Overlord 1. Chapter 3860. Peak Spiritual Overlord 1. After surpassing the Junior Spiritual Overlord stage, Feng Wu's cultivation level was still rising. Patriarch Huyin cried out inwardly. That girl was incredible. She had recovered so much in one go. Patriarch Huyin only let out a breath of relief when he saw that the pill in Feng Wu's hand was almost gone. He was worried that the girl would break through to the spiritual saint stage in one go. If that was the case, she wouldn't be able to keep up with her cultivation. He hoped that she wouldn't explode. As expected, Feng Wu stopped when she reached the peak of the spiritual overlord stage. And she had just used up the pill. A little more. She just needed a little more to reach the spiritual saint stage, didn't she? Patriarch Huyin thought to himself. It only took Feng Wu a day to go from a good-for-nothing to a peak spiritual overlord. All she needed to do now was to consolidate her physical quality. With Patriarch Huyin's help, Feng Wu began to train her physical body. The primary heaven pill was indeed the best pill in the world. Not only did it restore Feng Wu's spiritual essence, but it was also quickly tempering her body. Feng Wu had refined the muscles, tendons, and skin beforehand, and she was working on her bones now. Hearing the cracking sounds in Feng Wu's bones, Patriarch Huyin almost couldn't sit still. That was fast. From Patriarch Huyin's past experience, although the primary heaven pill was powerful, it shouldn't have taken effect so fast. It had only been a short while, but she had already finished refining her bones. Other people might not be able to do it even after years. After that, Patriarch Huyin watched as Feng Wu moved on to her internal organs. The internal organs were a very fragile part of the human body, and it was extremely difficult to cultivate that part. But Feng Wu, Patriarch Huyin, was dumbfounded again. The girl went on smoothly. In a matter of hours, her internal organs had been turned into iron walls. Normal people wouldn't be able to destroy her internal organs so easily. According to Patriarch Huyin's estimation, Feng Wu's physical cultivation level was about the same as that of a spiritual overlord. That was to say, if a junior spiritual overlord took action, Feng Wu would be invincible, and the opponent wouldn't be able to break through her defense. To Patriarch Huyin's disbelief, the girl went on. After refining his bones and internal organs, she began to refine her marrow. It was common knowledge that bones were easy to build, but cultivating the bone marrow was unbelievably difficult. The difficulty of reaching the intermediate level of the spiritual overlord stage was equivalent to that of refining one's marrow. Feng Wu closed her eyes again and focused on her refinement. Her face had gone ghastly pale. You'll be drained if you keep refining it. You can't do it anymore. Patriarch Huyin was worried about the girl. No matter how talented a person was or how exquisite the medicine was, they couldn't withstand such hard work. However, Feng Wu wouldn't listen to him. The primary heaven pill is such a rare opportunity that it'll be better if I can make some progress as soon as possible. The Northern Yin Kingdom is too dangerous for me. Feng Wu sat down cross-legged and spoke in a trembling voice. Patriarch Huyin could tell that Feng Wu was exhausted. In the past, no one would dare to defy him. However, the girl wouldn't listen to him now, and there was nothing he could do. Then refine the marrow. After that, you'll have to listen to me. You can't refine anymore. All right, Feng Wu said. Chapter 3861. Chapter 3861. Peak Spiritual Overlord 2. Chapter 3861. Peak Spiritual Overlord 2. It was true. By the time Feng Wu finished refining the marrow, most of the spiritual essence she had accumulated was gone. Luckily, the effect of the primary heaven pill was still there. Feng Wu closed her eyes and worked on her recovery. For the past 3 days, Patriarch Huyin had been taking care of Feng Wu and injected a lot of spiritual essence into her. He had turned paler, and his smooth face had wrinkles on it. He looked 5 years older. However, Patriarch Huyin didn't seem to mind at all. He only smiled at the girl in satisfaction. That was great. He had thought that he was all alone in this world, but he had never expected to have such a family member. All the more reason for him to stay alive and protect this girl. His master would be so sorry if she was bullied. 3 days later, Feng Wu finally finished her cultivation and slowly opened her eyes. That's amazing. Patriarch Huyin gave Feng Wu a thumbs up. Feng Wu had examined her own body. She had reached the peak of the spiritual overlord stage and had refined her bone marrow. That was such a big improvement. Feng Wu was elated. She hadn't suffered for nothing after all. The journey with the Gao family had been slow, but it had been safe. Moreover, she had been able to be involved in ordinary people's lives. Hence, she had learned a lot, which was why she was able to reach the peak of the spiritual overlord stage so quickly. Little Phoenix was amazed when it saw Feng Wu. It ran around her and cried out, "A spiritual overlord? You're a peak spiritual overlord already?" "Ah!" Little Phoenix cried out in excitement. That was true. Feng Wu was only a junior spiritual overlord when she left the Junwu Empire a few months ago. When Jun Linyuan was around, she had a wonderful time. Without Jun Linyuan, her life was miserable. She was hunted everywhere, and she ran as fast as she could. Finally, she was a peak spiritual overlord. The bird was a peak spiritual overlord, and so was Feng Wu. Only a handful of people in this world could hunt them down now. Little Phoenix was thrilled. One day, the bird would become Master Phoenix again. Feng Sun will cry his eyes out if he knows what you're capable of now, Little Phoenix added. Feng Wu cleared her throat uneasily. Feng Wu remembered that Feng Sun was indeed a junior spiritual overlord. Back in the Peace Grassland, Feng Sun was a rank higher than her. If she went to the Peace Grassland now. At that thought, Feng Wu was intrigued. Patriarch Huyin looked at Feng Wu in amazement. "You used to be a junior spiritual overlord." Feng Wu nodded. Patriarch Huyin stroked his beard. "Your breakthrough is indeed a little too fast. No one can rise from junior to the peak in such a short time. How many levels are there in between?" Little Phoenix nudged Patriarch Huyin. Little Yamba, you have no idea how talented our girl is. She's even more talented than before. Maybe she'll just be a little less accomplished than our master in the future." Patriarch Huyin nodded. He had realized in the past few days that she was indeed very talented. After all, Little Phoenix worshipped Mu Jiuzhou the most, so even if it had to compliment Feng Wu, it would mention Mu Jiuzhou first. Patriarch Huyin was even more so. He was Mu Jiuzhou's biggest fan, and no one could surpass his master. Chapter 3862 Chapter 3862 Peak Spiritual Overlord 3 Chapter 3862 Peak Spiritual Overlord 3 Unfortunately, my master will never see my junior sister like this again. Patriarch Huyin sounded aggrieved as he spoke, and tears rolled down his cheeks. "Why is my master gone? How?" Seeing that he was crying again, Little Phoenix was speechless and turned to Feng Wu. Feng Wu rubbed her temples. She finally realized that her 6th senior brother was indeed prone to crying. He was so arrogant and omnipotent in front of the king and the others, but who knew what he was like behind their backs? She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Feng Wu patted him on the arm. "Senior brother Hian, junior sister will never see master again, never. I often dream that master is still alive, and we're still living carefree by his side. All our senior brothers are there too." Patriarch Huyin pounded his chest and stomped his foot as he cried. Feng Wu said, "Says who? Master is still alive." However, Patriarch Huyin wouldn't believe her. "Senior sister, please don't make fun of me. Although I often mistakenly think that my master is still alive, after so many years, he burst into tears again." Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. Meanwhile, Little Phoenix shrugged and looked at Feng Wu in resignation, as if saying, "I told you so." Feng Wu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She poked Patriarch Huyin with a finger. "Senior brother Huyin, it's true. My master is still alive." Patriarch Huyin said, "You said that master is still alive. Where is he?" Feng Wu said, "He's in a very safe place now, and we won't see him until the time is right. But don't worry, he'll wake up." Patriarch Huyin wiped his tears and gave his junior sister a pleading look. "Really?" Feng Wu rubbed his head. "It's true. Trust me. My master is still alive. He's still alive." Patriarch Huyin sobbed. However, he felt that he was in such a sorry state, so he turned around and wiped his tears. From behind, his shrugging shoulders showed how excited he was. Feng Wu patted him on the shoulder and asked curiously, "By the way, you mentioned our 3 senior brothers just then. Are you in touch with them?" The mention of that infuriated Patriarch Huyin. "No," he snorted. "Wait, there seemed to be more to it." Feng Wu asked curiously, "Then, why is that?" She had seen her 3rd senior brother from afar. It was proof that he was still alive. Patriarch Huyin waved his hand. "It's nothing good. Kiddo, don't ask." Feng Wu almost stomped her foot. What was wrong with these people? When she asked for the truth, they all told her not to ask. "Senior brother, I'm not a child anymore. I'm already a peak spiritual overlord," Feng Wu said as she showed him her biceps. Patriarch Huyin rolled his eyes at her. "Even if you're a peak spiritual overlord, you're still in your teens. It's not for you to worry about. Be a good girl and don't ask." Feng Wu didn't know what to say. It seemed to be something so important that even a peak spiritual overlord wasn't qualified to take part. She was so curious. Chapter 3863. Chapter 3863. Peak Spiritual Overlord 4. Chapter 3863. Peak Spiritual Overlord 4. Just then, they heard a noise outside. Feng Wu was confused. What's outside? It just so happened that Feng Wu's cultivation level and physical strength had been refined, and she could come out now. She came out to find the giant eagle. The giant eagle stumbled back as soon as it saw Feng Wu. The feeling Feng Wu gave it was completely different from 3 days ago. 3 days ago, she was just an ordinary girl, but now she gave out a dangerous feeling. Ew. The giant eagle took a deep breath. "You're a peak spiritual overlord." Feng Wu was amazed. "You can tell," the eagle said grumpily. "I'm not blind." Feng Wu was confused. "But I have the concealing jade with me. Isn't it supposed to cover my tracks?" The giant eagle snorted. Patriarch Huyin smacked the eagle on the head. "How can you talk to your Ant Master like that?" "Ant Master?" The bird didn't know what to say. Patriarch Huyin glanced at the giant eagle and said sternly, "Why aren't you greeting your Ant Master?" Patriarch Huyin was a crybaby when he was around Feng Wu and Little Phoenix. But when he was around other people, he was like a real patriarch and an invincible figure. He didn't get angry, but was very intimidating. The giant eagle cringed right away. It glanced at Patriarch Huyin and saw that the old man's face had darkened. It lowered its head and greeted Feng Wu, calling her little Ant Master. Feng Wu tossed it another pill. The giant eagle was elated, and its eyes lit up. However, it didn't dare to take the bribe this time. Instead, it carefully observed Patriarch Huyin. Patriarch Huyin stood there proudly with his hands behind his back. Seeing the look in the eagle's eyes, the old man snorted. "That's a greeting gift from your Ant Master. Take it." "Yes." The giant eagle was very excited, and it carefully put away the treasure. That was the most useful treasure. Little Ant Master was the best. The giant eagle didn't think that there was anything wrong with a senior being intimidated by a teenage kid. Frustrated, Little Phoenix nudged Patriarch Huyin with its wings. Patriarch Huyin looked at it in bewilderment. Me. Little Phoenix stared at him. Only then did Patriarch Huyin realize what the bird meant. He nodded at the eagle. The giant eagle felt uneasy. It had fought Little Phoenix before, and the bird had been defeated. It had even kicked the bird out. Not only that, but the giant eagle had also wondered if it should stew the bird and eat it. Now that things had turned around, the giant eagle wanted to cry. The patriarch used to say that this was a world that valued martial prowess above everything else, and one's fists were everything. But now, come here and pay your respects to your younger martial uncle. Seeing the look on the eagle's face, Patriarch Huyin couldn't help but frown and beckoned it over. The giant eagle didn't like the sound of that at all. Next to them, little Phoenix stuck out its tail and mimicked Feng Wu's action. It reminded Feng Wu of a despicable person who had gotten what he wanted. Feng Wu found it hilarious. Patriarch Huyin's face darkened. The giant eagle, which had scolded the queen without hesitation, looked up at Patriarch Huyin with a pitiful look on its face and said angrily, "Didn't you say that this world cares only about martial prowess? That bird can't defeat me." Little Phoenix said proudly, "Are you not convinced?" The giant eagle raised its chin and said proudly, "I just can't accept it." Chapter 3864. Chapter 3864. Keep it to yourself, L. Chapter 3864. Keep it to yourself, L. Little Phoenix waved its paw like a boss. "If you don't like it, keep it to yourself." Feng Wu almost burst out laughing. Why did the bird copy her? Moreover, she was never that proud. She was supposed to be such a lovely girl. Little Phoenix threw a dirty look at Feng Wu, telling her to keep her silence. Feng Wu nodded and turned away. The eagle was furious. Patriarch Huyin didn't know what to do. Feng Wu tugged at her sick senior brother. "Just leave them be and let them fight among themselves. We'll talk after they figure out who's the winner." Feeling aggrieved, Little Phoenix glared at Feng Wu. "Aren't you going to help me?" Feng Wu glanced at it. "You can't even defeat your junior martial nephew. How dare you call yourself its martial uncle?" Little Phoenix was furious. Seeing that Feng Wu was on its side, the giant eagle immediately felt that Feng Wu was the best person in the world. Its eyes twinkled. Just then, Feng Wu remembered something. "Gosh, how could I have forgotten?" Little Zhao was no longer here after she turned back into Feng Wu. The king wasn't stupid, so of course he would be suspicious. Hence, Feng Wu asked the eagle, "How's His Majesty doing?" The giant eagle was too busy bickering with Little Phoenix to hear what Feng Wu said. Having no other choice, Feng Wu had to go in herself. The king was in a bad condition before and couldn't move at all. However, he was much better now and could move a little, but he still couldn't get out of bed. He was confused when he saw Feng Wu. Feng Wu examined him carefully and said, "You'll be able to move soon. Don't worry." The king looked alarmed. "Who are you?" Feng Wu took out a tube of medicine and injected it into the tube. She then pushed the tube upward, and a few drops of liquid gushed out. Emperor Yan's stomach lurched when he saw the medicine. He had never seen such a needle before. "What are you going to do to me? Get out! Get out!" The king panicked. Feng Wu thought, "I didn't know that kings could panic. Emperor Wu is much better than this one, and Jun Linyuan is much better than his father." While the king was shouting, Master Huyin came in and stood behind Feng Wu. Patriarch, in front of the old master, the king wasn't the supreme ruler anymore. He was like a youngster who admired his father. Right now, he was looking eagerly at the old master. Patriarch Huyin threw a dirty look at him. "Shut up." Hence, the king immediately shut up and didn't say another word. He only looked a little aggrieved. The patriarch turned to Feng Wu in surprise. "You're a good doctor, aren't you?" Feng Wu adjusted the injection and nodded. Come to think of it, Feng Wu was the reason that the king was in such a state, and after what he had gone through. Although Feng Wu wasn't going to let him know the truth, she still had to save him. She didn't want to owe him anything, so she had to get it over with. Patriarch Huyin asked curiously, "What level are you?" Feng Wu stared at the syringe in her hand and casually said, "I'm a semi-divine medicine refiner now." The king was astonished. The patriarch gave Feng Wu a strange look. "You're already a semi-divine medicine refiner? Have you learned all the master's skills?" Chapter 3865. Chapter 3865. Keep it to yourself, too. Chapter 3865. Keep it to yourself, too. Feng Wu said indifferently, "I haven't been able to learn them all. If I could, I would be a divine medicine refiner at the very least. I only know a limited amount." Master Huyin didn't know what to say. The girl was only in her teens, and she had reincarnated. She had no memory of what happened in her previous life. That was unbelievable. Patriarch Huyin didn't think Feng Wu was bragging, for that was how things worked in his sect. All his fellow disciples were geniuses, or his master wouldn't have taken them in. The king didn't believe it at first, but when he saw Patriarch Huyin's attitude toward Feng Wu, he immediately changed his attitude. Are you really a semi-divine medicine refiner? The king didn't dare to underestimate the teenage girl. He thought to himself, maybe she's over 100 years old, but she just looked young. Feng Wu had no idea what was going on in his head. She only said indifferently, "Give me your hand." The king obediently held out his hands. Feng Wu grabbed one of the hands and injected the tube of medicine. The king felt the pain at first, but it soon disappeared. He only looked at Feng Wu in amazement. Are you trying to save me? Because he had seen with his own eyes how special Patriarch Huyin was toward Feng Wu, he didn't dare to act like a king in front of Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded with a straight face. The king nodded. He didn't dare to criticize Feng Wu for her aloofness. Instead, he thought that was what a genius doctor should be like. However, the king was confused. Well, may I ask where my eunuch is? He had been taken care of since he was little, but the eagle couldn't be bothered. The bird thought it was already very kind of it to feed him on time. Right now, the king didn't feel very comfortable. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. She had forgotten about it. She had to get little Zhao here. Hence, after the injection, Feng Wu turned around and told the giant eagle, "I'll write a letter. Bring the eldest prince here." The giant eagle nodded obediently. The king no longer had any doubts about Feng Wu's identity. The giant eagle didn't even talk to him, the king, but this girl, junior sister. Soon, Patriarch Huyin led Feng Wu away. The king's eyes widened. He couldn't believe his ears. He had thought that the girl was the patriarch's new pupil, but as it turned out, she was his junior sister. Although the king had heard that the patriarch was Mu Jiuzhou's pupil, it was only a rumor. No one knew who his master really was. But now, a junior sister had shown up out of nowhere. That was to say, she really was a senior. Her status was higher than he had expected. Could she really be an old lady? The king thought to himself. Feng Wu told the giant eagle to deliver the message. The giant eagle usually stayed in the tower. Of course, when the patriarch went into seclusion, it would take a walk in the dark when it was bored. Therefore, it was quite familiar with the capital city. Where should the eldest prince be? The giant eagle racked its brain with a letter in its mouth. Chapter 3866. Chapter 3866. Keep it to yourself, 3. Chapter 3866. Keep it to yourself, 3. He had to be in the royal palace, right? The giant eagle then swaggered toward the palace. Needless to say, the giant eagle was stopped outside the gate. But Patriarch Huyin's spiritual pet was a different story. It leaped over the gate and headed for the inner courtyard of the Imperial Palace. The guards at the gate were worried sick. However, it alarmed the secret guards of the inner courtyard. The giant eagle had been with the patriarch when the king worshipped the ancestors, so the secret guards recognized the bird. They didn't dare to do anything and could only follow it from afar. The giant eagle didn't know where the eldest prince lived. It flapped its wings and shouted, "Your Royal Highness! Your Royal Highness!" As for what the prince's name was, sorry, it didn't know. Things weren't looking good for the prince at the moment. The patriarch and the queen were said to be supporting Princess Rao, but the prince had no one. The king was indeed on his side, but if he really had a stroke and couldn't speak, the prince thought that Princess Rao would have a very high chance of winning. He was a little frustrated. Princess Rao also knew that she had the upper hand. Therefore, she had launched a few attacks, and the prince had lost quite a few men. While the prince was disappointed and Princess Rao was gloating, there was a strange noise in the air. After all, the eagle spoke in a strange way. Everyone in the Imperial Palace heard its voice. The entire Imperial Palace knew there was a visitor. Quan Shi, the Crown Prince's guard, told him that it was a giant eagle, which belonged to Patriarch Huyen. The prince's heart skipped a beat. Had something happened? He had sent Feng Wu in with a disguise earlier, and little Zhao was still locked up here. If he was caught, the prince panicked a little. Soon, the giant eagle arrived. It wasn't alone. Princess Rao, the queen, and many other people in the palace were there as well. The queen thought that the giant eagle was here for revenge, so she brought a bunch of palace ladies who were there to pay her respects. Hence, they all gathered in the eldest prince's residence. Seeing the prince, the giant eagle was about to throw the envelope at him out of habit, but then it recalled what Feng Wu said. Well, the giant eagle cleared its throat and asked, "So, you're the eldest prince?" The prince nodded. "Read it, then." The giant eagle mimicked little phoenix and crossed its wings. It looked very proud. The giant eagle found the posture proud and confident, which showed how wise it was. Suppressing his nervous feeling, the crown prince began to read the letter. He saw the signature first. It was Feng Wu. What was going on? Since when was Feng Wu bold enough to sign her own name? Moreover, she had even sent Grandpa Eagle out to deliver a letter. What was wrong with this girl? She didn't look like she had done anything wrong. They greeted the eagle respectfully. Even the king had to talk to the eagle nicely, so of course, the queen didn't dare to offend it. Princess Rao greeted him as well as if she was very close to the giant eagle. Seeing that she still needed to clean the tower every day, the giant eagle nodded at her. That simple reply was enough to make Princess Rao very pleased with herself. She was the only one who could walk into the tower and get close to the patriarch. As expected, the others all looked envious. In northern Yin, Patriarch Yin was the ultimate protector, and his only spiritual pet, the giant eagle, was also an outstanding figure. Chapter 3867. Chapter 3867. Keep it to yourself for. Chapter 3867. Keep it to yourself for. The giant eagle didn't have time for this. It only glanced at the prince and asked, "Are you done?" The prince nodded immediately. The giant eagle snorted. "Let's go then." The prince was filled with questions, but there were so many people around, and he couldn't bring himself to ask. Hence, he nodded and left with the giant eagle. Many people saw the look on his face when he left. He didn't seem very happy. That was to say, it wasn't good news. Seeing that the giant eagle was only taking the prince away, Princess Rao quickly followed it and asked gingerly, "Grandpa Eagle, what happened? Why wouldn't the eagle take her?" However, before she could ask that question, the giant eagle said coldly, "Don't ask questions you shouldn't ask." Princess Rao nodded obediently and didn't dare to say another word. The prince couldn't help but glance at her. Wasn't the patriarch supposed to dote on her and support her? Wasn't he going to give her the primary heaven pill? Why didn't the eagle show her any respect? Moreover, the prince had a feeling that the eagle seemed to treat him better than his sister. It was so strange. At that thought, the prince rubbed his nose and was confused. Soon, they arrived at the tower. Normally, no one was allowed to enter the tower, but the giant eagle was guarding it, so of course, it could bring the prince in. Then, the prince realized that he had walked in just like that. What he didn't know was that all the ladies and princesses had gathered around Princess Rao and were asking her what was going on. The queen glanced at Princess Rao, who immediately said, "Maybe my brother has done something to offend the master. Otherwise, Grandpa Eagle wouldn't have arrested him." Arrest? It was a severe enough punishment for ordinary people, but for the prince, it was like a thunderclap on a sunny day. Because of what Princess Rao said, the news soon got out. The prince had no idea what was going on. Right now, he was standing in the spacious hall, feeling a little dizzy. He was in, just like that. Feng Wu quickly came out to greet him. "You're here." She waved at the prince. However, the prince didn't recognize Feng Wu and only looked at her in bewilderment. "Right, I forgot about that." Feng Wu waved at him. "I used to disguise myself as the ugly girl, but I'm back now." "What? Don't you recognize me?" The prince said, "That difference. It was so huge. Before, Feng Wu was an ugly girl, but now she was stunning." No words could describe how stunning she was. The prince was infatuated. "Hey, wake up." Feng Wu patted him on the shoulder. The crown prince blushed. Feng Wu was so magnanimous that he would look petty if he behaved this way. The prince sighed. "I've long heard that Miss Feng Wu of the Junwu Empire is unparalleled in her beauty. I couldn't tell with your disguise earlier, but now I see that you're indeed worthy of fame." It was said that she and Jun Linyuan were engaged. At that thought, the prince felt a little jealous. Feng Wu didn't expect the prince to overthink it. She only asked, "Do you know why I asked you to come in?" Chapter 3868. Chapter 3868. Take you to the Patriarch 1. Chapter 3868. Take you to the Patriarch 1. The prince shook his head in bewilderment. Feng Wu said, "Bring little Zhao here to your father." She was very busy and was ready to leave after that. Only then did the prince realize what had happened. "Wait." Feng Wu turned around and looked at him in bewilderment. "What?" the prince asked anxiously. "Can you walk freely in and out of this tower now?" Feng Wu nodded. "Of course." The prince asked, "Can you show your real face now?" Feng Wu nodded. "Of course." The prince went on. "Can you go on?" Feng Wu nodded. "Of course." The prince was speechless. "What?" The prince didn't understand and looked at Feng Wu in disbelief. "You're not bluffing, are you?" Feng Wu rolled her eyes at him. "Do you think I can brag about letting the eagle bring you here? Do you think I can brag to let you in? Do you think I can brag about bringing you to your patriarch?" The prince shook his head every time Feng Wu asked a question. However, he stared at her in astonishment when she finished her sentence. "What did you say?" Feng Wu was confused. "What do you mean?" The crown prince said. "What did you just say? You can take me to the patriarch?" Feng Wu nodded. "Of course." Was it that hard to meet her sick senior brother? The prince rolled his eyes at Feng Wu. "Stop bragging." Feng Wu almost laughed. "What a coincidence." Just then, Patriarch Huyin rushed out. He let out a breath of relief when he saw Feng Wu. "Why are you running around? I almost couldn't find you. What did you do with the mosquito? Tell me." The prince was dumbfounded when he saw the old man. That was their patriarch, wasn't it? The prince had seen the old master up close during ceremonies, so he recognized him right away. However, he wasn't so sure because the old master used to sit in a high position with a solemn look on his face. Even his father didn't dare to breathe loudly in front of him. However, the old man was so lively that he reminded the prince of a child. That was why the prince didn't dare to greet the old master. Patriarch Huyin had been watching Feng Wu the whole time. Seeing that Feng Wu was looking away, he followed her gaze. He recognized the boy right away. "Isn't that, what was his name?" Patriarch Huyin realized that he had forgotten the kid's name. The prince dropped to his knees and said respectfully, "Patriarch, it's my honor to meet you." After that, he kowtowed 3 times. Patriarch Huyin nodded, then turned to Feng Wu. "Let's go. What's with the mosquito and the high flame?" Patriarch Huyin had a lot of questions. He had learned to forge weapons from his master, so he wanted to use the time when his junior sister was around to teach her what he was best at. However, to his surprise, his junior sister was even better at it than he was. She could even make explosives. That was incredible. Therefore, it was now Patriarch Huyin's turn to follow Feng Wu around and learn from her on forging weapons. The eldest prince, who was kneeling on the ground, was speechless. He recalled the conversation he had with Feng Wu and didn't know what to say. Before the patriarch dragged Feng Wu away, she only had time to give the prince one instruction. Chapter 3869. Chapter 3869. Take you to the Patriarch 2. Chapter 3869. Take you to the Patriarch 2. Bring little Zhao here. Your father needs him. Before the prince could reply, Feng Wu was dragged away by Patriarch Huyin. The prince was speechless. Just then, she heard a familiar voice. "You're still here." Turning around, the prince saw that it was Princess Rao. Right now, she was talking to the giant eagle and addressing it as Grandpa. The prince was speechless. If he remembered it correctly, Feng Wu had been addressing the eagle as Brother Eagle. Just then, the giant eagle prompted the prince. "Get on with your work." The prince nodded immediately. After the prince left, Princess Rao feigned a curious tone and asked what he was doing there. The giant eagle glanced at her and warned her, "Don't ask what you shouldn't ask." Princess Rao had always been on friendly terms with the giant eagle. Hence, after being scolded, she lowered her head and put on a pitiful look. The giant eagle was about to tell her something when it heard Feng Wu's voice. "Brother Eagle." The giant eagle forgot all about Princess Rao and immediately said, "Right away." It ran away. Princess Rao stomped her foot in frustration. Wait, what did she hear? That was a familiar female voice, and she was sure that she had heard it somewhere before. However, she couldn't remember where she had heard that voice. She looked at the wooden bucket under her feet and decided to get back to work. Princess Rao was used to the work, but what she didn't know was that the prince would see her when she worked. The prince had brought little Zhao here to look after his father, as Feng Wu had instructed. The king could get out of bed now, so the prince and little Zhao helped him out. They were going to walk around in the courtyard when they saw someone scrubbing the floor. The king didn't recognize her at first, but little Zhao did. Isn't that? Only then did the king look in that direction. One look, and he was dumbfounded. By then, he had recognized the person scrubbing the floor inch by inch. It was none other than his precious Princess Rao. Scrubbing the floor. Although it wasn't a shameful thing to scrub the floor for the patriarch. After all, she was here to serve the master. The king recalled what Rao she said earlier. She said, "The patriarch likes me a lot. He often lets me go into the tower, saying that it's full of spiritual essence and good for my health. He likes me a lot. He says, why can't a princess be the ruler? He's on my side. The patriarch likes me a lot. He said he would give me the primary heaven pill, and I'm the only princess he likes." The patriarch, Emperor Yin, looked suspicious. Did the patriarch like her, dote on her, and care for her, as she said? Before, the king didn't think much of it, but now he felt that something wasn't right. The prince felt he couldn't add insult to injury, so he said, "Is the patriarch letting her use this method to train her body? Isn't she in poor health?" "Is that so?" The king wasn't convinced. "Let's go back." The king didn't go to the princess. He let the other two walk him back to his stone room. Just then, Feng Wu came out of another refinery room. Chapter 3870. Chapter 3870. Take you to the Patriarch 3. Chapter 3870. Take you to the Patriarch 3. That was the master's refinery room, and he was the only one allowed in, not even the giant eagle. But now, Feng Wu had walked out of that room. Seeing the king, Feng Wu nodded at him and greeted him in a familiar tone. "You can walk around now." It was like a normal conversation between ordinary people. The prince didn't know what to say. She was talking to his father, the king of Northern Yen. Young lady, was it appropriate to talk to him like that? Did she think that his father wouldn't hold grudges against her? He kept winking at Feng Wu, but Feng Wu couldn't read his mind and only gave him a confused look. The prince was speechless. However, the king didn't think that Feng Wu had offended him at all. Instead, he was excited by Feng Wu's attitude. "Yes, I can walk around now. Thank you for the medicine, Master Ant." The king was very respectful toward Feng Wu. He had heard Patriarch Yin address Feng Wu as junior sister, which meant that she had to be an old woman over 100 years old. He had to show her some respect. The king even bowed to her. The prince was astonished. He had never been so shocked before. "Ant Master? A bow? What?" To the prince, his father had always been an authoritative figure. Sometimes he didn't even dare to breathe loudly in front of his father. But now, he couldn't understand it anymore. Wasn't Feng Wu just a girl from the Jungle Empire? At most, she was a genius girl that had been rising day by day. There were so many unattainable geniuses out there that a ruler didn't need to bow at her at all. The look on the prince's face kept changing, and Feng Wu was amused. But she didn't say anything. She only nodded at the king and said indifferently, "I'm glad that you can get out of bed." But your condition is quite serious this time. I don't think you'll be able to make a full recovery with the help of medicine. Let me treat your acupoints for you." The king was elated and nodded. The prince was there the whole time when Feng Wu treated the king. He was shocked at first when he saw how skillful Feng Wu was, but he soon fell into deep thought. She was a top refiner and a top medicine refiner, although she was a good-for-nothing with 0 cultivation level. Wait, the prince suddenly sensed Feng Wu's spiritual essence, and his eyes widened. He stared at Feng Wu. No, that couldn't be. How could she? Feng Wu had been hiding her spiritual essence, but because she was going to treat the king, she let it show, and the prince immediately sensed it. The prince stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. Feng Wu wasn't a cripple. Not only wasn't she useless, but she was also more capable than him. What level was she? At that thought, the prince felt like crying. He wanted to say, "How's that possible? I don't believe it." But it was the truth. He saw with his own eyes that Feng Wu had refined a semi-divine weapon. He saw how Feng Wu treated his father and how she used her spiritual essence. He almost lost control. Feng Wu let out a breath of relief after putting away the needles. The king looked expectantly at Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded and smiled. "Your Majesty, don't worry. Your energy channels are all working. You'll be fine for a while." Chapter 3871. Chapter 3871. Take you to the Patriarch for. Chapter 3871. Take you to the Patriarch for. Although Emperor Yan's symptoms were similar to a stroke, it wasn't as simple as that. Feng Wu had used her own potion. Of course, she wasn't going to tell anyone about it. She wanted to save herself the trouble and make a good impression on the king. Feng Wu knew that her 6th senior brother preferred a quiet environment. Now that the father and son were in the tower, he didn't even want to come out. Hence, she said to the king, "You're fine now. You can go back to the palace today." The prince was dumbfounded. Since when did Feng Wu's words work so well for Patriarch Huyan? Was this girl even human? Was she that likable? Feng Wu looked at him, gave it some thought, and said, "Follow me, then." After that, she was ready to take the king there. The king felt uneasy. The Patriarch doesn't like to see other people. Are you sure about that? The prince looked at his father and recalled how serious the latter usually looked. It was a stark contrast. Feng Wu nodded matter-of-factly. Of course. She knocked on the door. Patriarch Huyan said, "Come in." Feng Wu turned to the king. "I'll go in first. Please wait a moment." The king nodded. Not only was the Patriarch a formidable cultivator, but he was also very perceptive. The king wanted to ask the Patriarch about the heir to the throne. And that was also why Feng Wu had brought the king here. After all, Northern Yan was a major kingdom. If Princess Raoshi took the throne, she might abuse her power and turn the entire kingdom against Feng Wu, which would be a lot of trouble for the latter. Feng Wu knew that the grudge between her and Princess Raoshi would never be resolved. Therefore, she would never let Princess Raoshi take the throne. Moreover, to the current Feng Wu, that was a piece of cake. She went up to the Patriarch and whispered something in his ear. Patriarch Huyan frowned a little. "Of course not. Why would I choose her? She's just a maid who cleans my floor." Feng Wu chuckled. She wondered how the princess would feel if she knew that she was only a hard-working maid to Patriarch Huyan. Feng Wu was glad that she could ruin Princess Raoshi's plan. Feng Wu asked, "What do you think of the eldest prince, Huyan Junshin?" Patriarch Huyan was confused. Feng Wu asked, "That's the young man who came to see me earlier." The Patriarch asked Feng Wu, "What do you think of him?" Recalling her recent interactions with the prince, Feng Wu told the truth. "He's a warm and powerful man. He's calm and rational. I think he's a good candidate." Patriarch Huyan nodded, indicating that he understood. After sabotaging Princess Raoshi's future without hesitation, Feng Wu opened the door and welcomed the two men in. After all, it was a matter of the Northern Yan Kingdom. She left the room after showing them in and closed the door behind her. Although she didn't know what they talked about, Feng Wu knew that Patriarch Huyan would like the prince. As expected, Chapter 3872. Chapter 3872. A Thousand-Year-Old Woman. Chapter 3872. A Thousand-Year-Old Woman. The eldest prince came out first. Seeing Feng Wu cultivating in the stone room, he went up to her in a hurry. He was excited, but he didn't dare to disturb her, so he had to walk around her in circles. Feng Wu almost felt dizzy from his running around. She smiled wryly and asked, "What are you getting at?" Turning around, the prince saw that Feng Wu had opened her eyes. He ran to her side and sat down in front of her, looking very excited. "I've met the Patriarch." The prince was excited. Feng Wu rolled her eyes. Was that supposed to be an impossible task? The prince said, "It's so hard to meet him. Look, even my father found it very difficult. If you hadn't spoken up for him, he probably wouldn't have been able to meet the Patriarch this time. As for us princes and princesses, before, only Raoshi had spent time with him alone, and I only watched from afar. But this time, I'm sitting right opposite the Patriarch, and only a meter away from him." The prince was thrilled. "Do you know how excited I am now? No words can describe my feeling." He suddenly turned serious. "Xiao Wu, thank you. Thank you so much." Tears welled up in the prince's eyes as he spoke, and he sounded a little choked up, but more than that, he sounded aggrieved. Feng Wu looked at him in resignation. "What's there to cry about? You're a grown man." Wiping away his tears, the prince said excitedly, "The Patriarch patted me on the shoulder and said that he had faith in me. He said that he had faith in me." "Xiao Wu, what did that mean?" Xiao Wu looked at him in resignation. "What do you think?" There was a hopeful look in the prince's eyes. "Do you think he thinks I'm better than Raoshi?" Feng Wu said, "Of course." The prince asked, "So I'm more likely to win than Raoshi now?" Feng Wu said, "That's an understatement. As long as the Patriarch was around, the prince would definitely become the heir to the throne." That was what the prince wanted to hear. "Thank you. Xiao Wu, thank you." The prince grabbed Feng Wu's hand and couldn't hide his excitement. Feng Wu waved him off. "Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal." However, the prince wiped away his tears and said seriously, "One word from you is enough to change my life." Seeing the serious look on the crown prince's face, Feng Wu became more serious as well. She said indifferently, "Actually, you'll still be the future heir to the throne if I don't speak up for you in front of your Patriarch. After all, you've seen it yourself. Raoshi has been putting on an act this whole time, and your Patriarch isn't behind her." However, the prince shook his head and said, "It's not the same. She has been using the Patriarch's fame for so many years, and it has always worked because no one else can get in touch with the Patriarch. If you hadn't brought me here, I wouldn't know anything, and neither would my father." Feng Wu agreed with him. "You owe me one, then. I'll ask you to help me in return when I want it," Feng Wu said casually. "All right," the prince said generously. He had no idea what that favor would be. "By the way, are you really?" looked at Feng Wu in amazement. "Are you really the Patriarch's junior sister?" Feng Wu asked. "Did your father tell you that?" The prince said, "Father also said that you must be a 1,000-year-old woman." Chapter 3873. Chapter 3873. Secret of Raoshi 1. Chapter 3873. Secret of Raoshi 1. Feng Wu stared at him. "What did you say?" Seeing that Feng Wu looked like she was going to cut someone up, the prince waved his hands. "It was my father. I didn't say it. I really didn't," Feng Wu snorted. The crown prince explained in a hurry. "Well, you're the Patriarch's junior sister, so you should be quite old. I think that's what my father thinks." Feng Wu snorted again. The prince was confused. "So, are you the Patriarch's junior sister or the teenage girl of the Junwu Empire?" Feng Wu asked. "Can't I be both?" The prince said, "How can you be both? How old is the Patriarch? How old must his master be? How is that possible?" Feng Wu raised an eyebrow. "Why isn't it possible? I'm right here, aren't I?" The prince said, So, you really are? You. Feng Wu nodded. The prince looked shocked and frustrated. Feng Wu glanced at him curiously. I understand that you're shocked, but why are you upset? The prince heaved a long sigh and sat down on a stone bench. Feng Wu sat down next to him, rested her elbows on the stone table, and looked curiously at the crown prince. The prince sighed and said, "The Junwu Empire's era has come." Feng Wu asked curiously, "What do you mean?" The prince gave Feng Wu a resentful look. "Isn't it obvious? Jun Linyuan is a prominent figure in the Junwu Empire. Don't tell me you don't know what he's like." Feng Wu cleared her throat. The prince said quietly, "I was so arrogant when I was little that I wanted to compete with Jun Linyuan. I thought that I would be able to catch up with him if I worked as hard as I could. But as it turned out, I was left behind." Feng Wu cleared her throat. The prince gave Feng Wu another resentful look and said, "Fine, I'll admit it. I'm not as good as him. But has the Junwu Empire been blessed by the gods? Why do they also have you?" Feng Wu wouldn't accept it. "What about me?" The more the prince said, the more frustrated he became. "Don't you know what you're like? In terms of cultivation level, you're at the peak of the spiritual overlord stage. By the way, how old are you?" Feng Wu said, "I'm yet to turn 15. The prince didn't want to talk to Feng Wu anymore. "You're not even 15 yet. My dear lady, you're not even 15 yet. How can you be so amazing? Not only are you at the peak of the spiritual overlord stage, but you're also so terrifying in refining weapons and medicines. We're the rest, or us supposia to our." Feng Wu cleared her throat. Despite the prince's complaints, Feng Wu still felt a little satisfied. She couldn't let her imagination run wild. Feng Wu reminded herself. The prince didn't know her achievement in formations yet. The prince glanced at Feng Wu and said aggrievedly, "Do you know what's the most terrifying thing?" Feng Wu was confused. "What is it?" The prince said, "The most terrifying thing is that you and Jun Linyuan, the two most outstanding teenagers in the world, are almost husband and wife. If the two of you get married, no other countries will be your match." Feng Wu tried to deny it. "Well, it's not like that. Jun Linyuan and I, it's not what you think." Chapter 3874. Chapter 3874. Secret of Raoshi 2. Chapter 3874. Secret of Raoshi 2. The prince snorted. "It's not what I think. Is there something else? Are you not going to marry Jun Linyuan?" Feng Wu glanced at him. "I don't know if I'll marry Jun Linyuan, but why are you so concerned? Do you want to marry me, or something?" Thump. What Feng Wu said almost frightened the prince to death. He fell off the chair and almost broke his leg. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at him. "Do you have to be so scared?" The prince wanted to cry. "Even my father addresses you as Aunt Master. Okay." Judging by their seniority, the prince really was supposed to call her grandma. Feng Wu chuckled. "Chun-chun, be a good girl. Say hello, and I'll give you a welcome gift." The prince wanted to hit someone. Just then, the king came out with Patriarch Huyan. He was surprised to see the prince chatting happily with Feng Wu. However, he soon greeted Feng Wu as well. Feng Wu nodded in return. She didn't try to be polite at all. The prince was amazed by how tough she was. Just then, the king threw a dirty look at the prince. "Shouldn't you be bowing to your senior now?" The prince was dumbfounded. Feng Wu chuckled. The king looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment, not knowing what she was laughing at. Feng Wu finally stopped laughing. Seeing the prince's flushed face, she wanted to laugh again. She could understand his feelings. Back in the shop when the first time the prince met her, she was just an ugly girl with no background. Later, she told him that she was Feng Wu, but even so, she was only a promising teenage girl in the Junwu Empire, whereas he was the eldest prince of Northern Yin. But now, Feng Wu could only imagine how frustrated felt. Snee smiled at T&E King. "Junknin is T&E best. You need to treat him well." Yes, he's always been a nice kid. He was elated to hear Feng Wu's praise. However, he saw that the patriarch didn't look too happy and realized that he had been here for too long. Hence, he immediately led the prince out of the tower. Feng Wu saw them off. "Where's Raoshi?" the prince asked curiously. Feng Wu said, "She's never been qualified to go inside. She always leaves after she cleans the floor. That's why she's not here. Fengwu noticed that the corner of the king's eyes twitched. Yes. The two of them went back to the palace. The study had been repaired, but some of the missing files weren't that easy to repair, especially some precious books on the shelf. The king was furious. Get to the bottom of it. Before long, little Zhao came back and whispered something in the king's ear. The king was shocked and furious. He turned around and glared at the prince. Frightened by the look in his eyes, the crown prince dropped to his knees. Father, had his father found out about the mosquito burning down the study? That shouldn't be the case. The king only gave him one look before looking away. He waved at the prince and said, "You can leave now." The prince bowed respectfully before leaving the room, closing the door behind him. Chapter 3875. Chapter 3875. Secret of Raoshi 3. Chapter 3875. Secret of Raoshi 3. As soon as the prince left, the king lost his temper. That bastard. The prince's stomach lurched. Could it be that his father? The king went on. How dare she? Does she really think the patriarch cares that much about her? Hearing that, the prince was relieved and left in a hurry. According to Zhao, they had been able to control the young eunuch, who was the one who started the fire. They then traced it back to concubine Mei and found out that Princess Rao had something to do with it. Find out everything. The king didn't want Princess Rao and the queen to have something to do with his illness. But if they did, the king clenched his fists. Meanwhile, the princess had no idea that the king was already suspecting her. She was happily preparing for her birthday party. It was the following day. When Princess Rao went to see the king, he was talking to the prince in the study. The king patted his son on the shoulder and said, "Join the Ministry of Revenue first and work hard. I'm not the only one watching you. The patriarch is watching you as well." The prince was thrilled. He knew that the patriarch must have taken his side when the king met him, so his father made this choice. It was all because of little Fengwu. At the thought of that stunning face, the prince felt a warm sensation in his chest. "What are you thinking?" the king asked curiously. The prince said, "I'm thinking about Feng." He then explained, the patriarch's junior sister. Don't even think about it." Before he could finish, the king smacked him on the head. "You already know she's the patriarch's junior sister, and you're still thinking about her? Do you have a death wish?" Ahem. The prince was so frustrated that he almost choked on his own breath. He said hastily, "Father, I didn't mean it that way. I think it's all because of her recommendation that you're willing to see me. I'm so grateful." Only then did the king nod. "Befriending that senior lady is indeed an opportunity for you. Make good use of it. Understood?" The prince nodded immediately. Of course. However, the so-called senior lady. She wasn't 15 yet. He was about to explain to the king that Fengwu was the girl of the Junwu Empire and Junlin Yuan's fiancée. However, before he could say anything, he heard a voice outside. Zhao said, "Your Majesty, Her Majesty the Queen, and Princess Rao are outside." Zhao was a smart man. Before, it was unclear who would take the throne, so he couldn't put his money on either side. However, now that he had investigated the burning of the Imperial study and His Majesty's apoplexy, he knew everything. There was also the interaction between His Majesty and the prince. The two of them hadn't been like this before. Before, the prince would treat the king with great respect, but for a moment, just now, little Zhao felt they were real father and son. To suppress the prince, Princess Rao and the queen did a lot of things to alienate the king and the prince, which created a big estrangement between them. But now, it seemed that the ice had broken. At that thought, Zhao smiled. Chapter 3876. Chapter 3876. Secret of Raoshi 4. Chapter 3876. Secret of Raoshi 4. It seemed that he would have to ask his pupil what happened in the tower these days. His pupil was none other than little Zhao himself. The king had no idea that Zhao had been thinking so much. Hearing that Princess Raoshi and the queen were here, he frowned and looked displeased. However, he quickly adjusted his facial expression and said indifferently, "Let them in." For now, he didn't have any evidence to prove that the queen and the princess were behind everything. After all these years, he couldn't stop liking them all of a sudden. The queen and Princess Raoshi soon came in. Nothing seemed to have changed in eyes. The queen was as gentle as ever with a smile on her face. Princess Rao took the king's arm and chatted with him. The prince's mother had passed away, and he seemed to be redundant and couldn't join them no matter what. Similar things had happened countless times for as long as he could remember. He was sad at first, but then he pretended that he didn't care, and gradually he became numb. But things seemed to be different now. The prince thought, "I think that's because I'm more confident now," because Fengwu was on his side. With that confidence, he didn't feel envious when he saw them like this. Instead, he could tell that Raoshi and the queen had put on an act. Raoshi held the king's arm and was almost hanging on to him. Princess Raoshi said, "Father, my birthday is tomorrow. Have you forgotten?" The king didn't let his real emotions show. He rubbed Princess Raoshi's head and said affectionately, "Of course not." Princess Raoshi was elated, and she sounded as innocent as a teenage girl. "Really?" The king tapped her nose. "Of course. What did I lie to you?" Princess Raoshi was very happy, so she asked, "Father, what do you want to give?" The king said, "I'll give you whatever you want." Princess Raoshi smiled. "Father, how about you give me this kingdom?" A hush fell over the crowd at those words, and the air seemed to freeze for a moment. A short distance away, all the eunuchs lowered their eyes and didn't dare to breathe loudly. It was so terrifying. The king was surprised as well. Before he could say anything, Princess Raoshi chuckled. She then turned to the queen and said, "Mother, my father took it seriously." How funny. Everyone let out a breath of relief when they saw her smile. The king smiled as well and tapped Princess Raoshi on the forehead. "You're so naughty." The prince was watching the whole thing, so he realized something. The princess was trying to sound out his father, but his attitude didn't please her. Raoshi was displeased, but it only lasted for a split second. So did her father. Princess Raoshi acted as if nothing had happened and went back to holding the king's arm. "Father, I'm celebrating my birthday tomorrow." The king nodded with a smile. Princess Raoshi said, "Father, do you remember? The patriarch said that he would give me a gift for my 18th birthday. It's going to be the primary heaven pill." Chapter 3877. Chapter 3877. Secret of Raoshi 5. Chapter 3877. Secret of Raoshi 5. Princess Raoshi was lost in her story. The primary heaven pill is the best pill in the world. I'll be in great shape after I take it. With my talent, I'll be able to make great progress in my cultivation. "Father, are you happy?" The king asked. Did he really say that? Princess Raoshi said, "Of course. You were there before, weren't you?" The patriarch said that he had a primary heaven pill for his junior sister. It'll expire if she doesn't take it now. The king did know about it, because the patriarch had talked about it, but they only heard about it by accident. "Did the patriarch say that he was going to give it to you?" The king asked suspiciously. Princess Raoshi panicked. What was going on with her father? He had never questioned her words before and would believe anything she said. Princess Raoshi exchanged a stern look with the queen. After that, she threw a dirty look at the prince, which was filled with hatred and rage. Her dear brother must have complained to her father. The prince rubbed his nose and didn't try to explain himself. His father knew what was going on. Princess Raoshi looked at the king again. "Father, I've been to the tower a lot, haven't I? The patriarch said once that he was going to give me the pill, and it would be on my 18th birthday. I understand why you didn't know, because only the patriarch and I were there, and I never told you about it." As she spoke, she smiled shyly. "The patriarch not only wanted to give me the pill, but he also taught me all kinds of things. He said that I had brought him a lot of joy." Princess Raoshi told the king how the patriarch liked her, doted on her, and treated her well. The king was speechless. So was the prince. The father and son looked at each other, and their faces twitched. The image of the princess wiping the floor appeared in their heads. Really, the king looked at her. She was his favorite princess, and he had brought her up by his side. How could she lie to him? He thought about how Princess Raoshi used to make him happen when she was little. She would cry when other people carried her and laugh when she saw him. She would hold his father's hand and cry as if he was the only one she cared about in the world. It pained the king to see her like this. At that thought, the king softened a little and decided to give Raoshi another chance. Really? Is the patriarch really that nice to you? Princess Raoshi's stomach lurched. She could sense something different about her father. Did he know something? Father, did the patriarch say something? Princess Raoshi asked tentatively. The king smiled. He's so busy, and I hardly ever see him, let alone talk to him. I was just thinking that you haven't come to see me in the tower these days. Princess Raoshi let out a breath of relief. She knew it. The patriarch was too unattainable to chat with her father. Princess Raoshi immediately said, I wanted to come in and take care of you, but the patriarch said that you were too sick to be disturbed, so I had no choice but to stay outside. Then, something came up with my mother, and you came out as soon as I arrived. It really wasn't like that. The more she said, the more anxious she became. Chapter 3878. Chapter 3878. The Complaint Against Feng Wu 1. Chapter 3878. The Complaint Against Feng Wu 1. Seeing that Raoshi was getting more and more anxious, the king smiled brightly and patted her on the shoulder. I know that. Seeing that the king wasn't angry, Princess Raoshi let out a breath of relief. She didn't want her father to know the truth. As long as he didn't, she could do whatever she wanted. This had been going on for the past decade or so, and no one had ever seen through her act. Therefore, Princess Raoshi felt that it wouldn't happen now. As it turned out, her father had no idea. If he had known, he would have been furious and wouldn't have been so nice. At that thought, Princess Raoshi wasn't worried at all. Princess Raoshi changed the subject. Father, you haven't told me about the gift yet. Are you not going to give it to me? Seeing Princess Raoshi like this, the king was no longer interested. He only smiled and asked, What kind of gift do you want? Princess Raoshi pouted and mumbled, I hate someone. Father, can you please help me? The king asked how. Princess Raoshi said, Catch her and turn her into my toy. Can I do that? A toy? The king frowned. This princess had crossed the line. Princess Raoshi went on. Father, that person has been offending me. She knows that I'm a princess, but she still won't give in. She doesn't respect the royal family at all. I won't have it. The prince's stomach lurched, and he gave Princess Raoshi a strange look. Could it be what he had guessed? Who offended you? The king frowned. With his daughter's behavior, that person had to be a decent person to offend her. Princess Raoshi went on acting like a spoiled child. Father, please don't ask me for more details. Can you lend me some in? I'll go catch her myself. The look he gave her the creeps. Fine. If you want to hear it, I'll make it very clear. Princess Raoshi was going to do something about Feng Wu under the guise of celebrating her birthday. Now that her father had recovered, if the office head of the punishment office sent in his memorial, she might as well put the blame on Feng Wu first. Therefore, she took the opportunity and said, Father, I went to Stingy Shop a few days ago and found a new weapon. Princess Raoshi told the king what had happened, contorting the truth. Naturally, she changed the subject to how polite she was and how aggressive and arrogant that ugly girl was. The girl was said to have crossed the line and disrespected the princess completely. Princess Raoshi changed the subject. Later, I couldn't stand it anymore, so I made a stupid move. I wanted to kidnap that ugly girl in the middle of the night and teach her a lesson. I wanted to show her that the princess of a northern Yin kingdom isn't to be trifled with. The prince gave her a strange look. To be honest, he would be anxious if he didn't know who Feng Wu was, but now. Princess Raoshi had no idea of Feng Wu's background. So far, She had only addressed the girl as the ugly girl, which was why the king didn't know who she was talking about. Princess Raushi looked frustrated. I only wanted to teach her a lesson, so I sent some capable cultivators over. I didn't expect to run into my brother. He thought I was going to do something to Chen, so he killed all the capable cultivators I sent. Chapter 3879. Chapter 3879. The Complaint Against Feng Wu 2. Chapter 3879. The Complaint Against Feng Wu 2. Father, they were all capable cultivators you gave me. There were 7 spiritual overlords, and my brother killed them all by mistake. Not only didn't they apologize to me, but they also tried to frame me for trying to assassinate Chen and his family. Father, that's so frustrating. The king frowned a little. He knew about it, because Zhao had mentioned it when he investigated the incident earlier. All 7 spiritual overlords under Raushi had indeed died in the shop, and the culprits were the crown prince's men. Is that true? The king stared at the prince. The prince nodded. Father, it's true. Princess Rao, she gave him a suspicious look. He was supposed to explain himself, but he didn't say a word. There had to be something behind it. The king frowned. Do you admit your crime? The prince said affirmatively, no. The king said, you killed all 7 spiritual overlords. How can you say that you won't admit your crime? The prince went down on one knee. Father, Raushi sent people to assassinate that girl first. Am I going to let her kill the girl? The king frowned. 7 spiritual overlords? How dare you? The prince pursed his lips and didn't say a word. Seeing that her father had taught the prince a lesson for her, Princess Raushi was pleased. She felt she was the only one who could turn a bad thing into a good one. This time, she was determined to destroy her brother's dignity. The king pointed at Princess Raushi. Go back first. I'll deal with it. Princess Raushi and the queen left happily, leaving the father and son alone in the study. The king still hadn't let go of his frown. I don't care who that girl is. You've gone too far. 7 spiritual overlords. However, the prince said a name before the king could finish. Feng Wu. The king was confused. What? The prince looked into the king's eyes and enunciated each word clearly. Father, Raushi sent 7 spiritual overlords into the shop in the middle of the night to assassinate Feng Wu. The king said, I don't care who she is. However, he was interrupted once again. The prince's eyes darkened. Father, you've heard of Feng Wu. She's the newest talent with the phoenix blood from the Zhenwu Empire. She's a genius, and she's rumored to be Jun Linyuan's fiancée. Oh, it's her realization dawned on the king, and he mumbled, if she gives birth to a baby with Jun Linyuan, it'll have incredible talent. The king glanced at the prince, implying that it would be better if Raushi could kill such a talented girl. Why would he want to save Feng Wu? Thinking of this, the king glared at the prince, blaming him for being a busybody. The prince looked at the king and reminded him, the patriarch's junior sister's name is Feng Wu. The patriarch's junior sister. Brr! The king jumped to his feet. He was so excited that he almost knocked over the table. The prince nodded. The king was speechless. He walked back and forth in the room in astonishment, mumbling to himself, That's impossible. That's impossible. The prince watched his exasperated father in silence. Chapter 3880. Chapter 3880. The Complaint Against Feng Wu 3. Chapter 3880. The Complaint Against Feng Wu 3. The king turned around and stared at the prince. Are you telling the truth? The prince nodded. The king was dumbfounded. So, she's Jun Linyuan's unmarried wife. The king wanted to cry. The prince nodded again. The king said, That's impossible. Isn't she a 1,000-year-old woman? The prince rubbed his forehead. Father, Feng Wu isn't even 15 yet. The king was astonished. The prince nodded. Yup. The king was a little shaken today. He paced back and forth in the study with his hand behind his back and whined. Is fate going to bring prosperity to the Zhenwu Empire? Just then, Zhao came in to report that Huyan Yichen was here to see him. Huyan Yichen had a token and was given the privilege of entering the palace. Huyan Yichen? The king hesitated. It had been years since he last saw the kid in court. He used to like the kid a lot, but after his sister died in an accident, he never came back. "Let him in," said the king. Huyan Yichen soon came in. He wasn't as lively as he used to be. Instead, he was very polite and well-behaved. The king sighed inwardly and chatted with Huyan Yichen about his grandfather for a while before talking about his purpose in coming to court. "Princess Raoshi wants to kill us." Huyan Yichen told the king what happened that night. "If the prince hadn't been here, we would have been killed. Your Majesty, please help us." To protect Feng Wu, Huyan Yichen didn't mention her name. He only said that Princess Raoshi wanted to kill him and his grandfather. Moreover, Huyan Yichen said his grandfather had sent a memorial but never got a reply, so he was here to ask the king if he remembered what happened by the lake many years ago. By the lake, the king looked nostalgic. Back when the king was living by the lake, old Huyan had saved him, and the old man himself almost died. He hadn't mentioned it when his granddaughter died, but now he had brought it up. Was it to save Feng Wu? So, he must have no idea of Feng Wu's relationship with the patriarch. The king turned to look at his son. The prince nodded affirmatively. The king didn't know what to say. He couldn't wait to see how shocked the old man would be when he learned who Feng Wu really was. Just then, someone stuck her head into the room. "Hey, are you talking about?" When the king and the prince turned around and saw who it was, they were both surprised. The king was about to greet Feng Wu when he saw the dazed look on Huyan Yichen's face. Feng Wu knocked Huyan Yichen on the head. "Hey, stop drooling." Huyan Yichen wiped his mouth involuntarily, only to find that he wasn't drooling. Embarrassed, he glared at Feng Wu. But the girl was so pretty that Huyan Yichen couldn't look away. He even forgot to get angry. Jun Linyuan gave Huyan Yichen a sympathetic look and thought, "Brother, be careful. She's not someone you can dream about. Even I don't dare to think about her in that way." Feng Wu said grumpily, "What are you looking at?" Chapter 3881. Chapter 3881. The Complaint Against Feng Wu 4. Chapter 3881. The Complaint Against Feng Wu 4. Feng Wu said grumpily, "What are you looking at?" Huyan Yichen's eyes widened in astonishment. That look, that tone, that voice, that was... "You are her." Huyan Yichen stared at Feng Wu, too amazed to say anything. Feng Wu glanced at him. "It's only been a few days. Don't you recognize her?" Huyan Yichen said, "You're that ugly girl? Seriously?" Feng Wu smiled at him. That smile. Huyan Yichen finally recognized her. Huyan Yichen was filled with regret. She's so pretty. Why bother hiding her face? If he knew how pretty she was, he wouldn't have waited. He could have just courted her. So, is Feng a made-up name as well? Huyan Yichen gave Feng Wu a resentful look. Feng Wu gave him an apologetic look and nodded. "I'm Feng Wu." Huyan Yichen snorted. "Feng Wu it is. That's not a well-known name. Why do you want to hide it?" "Wait, Feng Wu." Huyan Yichen turned around and stared at Feng Wu. "Feng Wu of the Junwu Empire." Feng Wu asked curiously, "Why? Have you heard of my name before?" Huyan Yichen stared at Feng Wu. "Of course I know your name. I've heard it for a long time. Feng Sun wrote me a letter to tell me how beautiful a girl is in the Junwu Empire, saying that we don't have such a beauty here. I'm so jealous." Feng Wu cleared her throat. She didn't expect Feng Sun to be so goofy. Huyan Yichen said, "He also said that Jun Linyuan, his buddy, was in love with the girl, but he was stubborn and wouldn't speak, but he was jealous all the time. By the way, he also said in his letter that one day, when he interacted more with you, Jun Linyuan challenged him to a duel in the middle of the night." What kind of person was Jun Linyuan? No, it wasn't like he hadn't met Jun Linyuan before. That guy was supposed to be the proud, arrogant, lonely, invincible, and unapproachable type. How could he be so childish? The prince wouldn't believe it. Feng Wu blushed and glanced at Huyan Yichen. "I don't know what you're talking about." Hu Yanqin had no idea what secret he had revealed. He was thrilled by the coincidence and almost waved his hands in excitement. And he also said in his letter that little Feng Wu is a genius. Not only is she pretty, but she's also talented in formations and medicine. She's amazing in everything. Feng Wu cleared her throat uneasily. Hu Yanqin said, I can't take his word for it. He said you were talented and capable, but you didn't have any spiritual essence at all. Wait. Hu Yanqin stared at Feng Wu and was baffled. Your energy doesn't feel the same as before. Your spiritual essence. How's your cultivation level? Feng Wu didn't want to keep it from him anymore, so she told him her cultivation level. I'm a peak spiritual overlord, Hu Yanqin said. A spiritual overlord? Feng Wu said, yes. Hu Yanqin said, you have no family in the Northern Yin Kingdom. Don't worry. I'll take care of you. The two of them talked back and forth, ignoring the king completely. The next moment, Hu Yanqin saw the prince go up to Feng Wu and greet her with a bow. Greetings, senior grandaunt. Hu Yanqin's eyes widened, and he stared at the prince. After that, the prince glanced at Hu Yanqin and nodded. Wait, what? Chapter 3882. Chapter 3882. Don't tell other people 1. Chapter 3882. Don't tell other people 1. No. Hu Yanqin was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He only stared at the prince coldly. What did you just call her? The prince asked, what do you think? Hu Yanqin scratched his ear. Am I hearing things? Did you just call her senior grandaunt? The prince put his hands behind his back and nodded confidently. He didn't feel ashamed at all. Instead, he was very proud of himself. Hu Yanqin gave the king a strange look. By then, the king had realized what had happened. The genius teenage girl of the Junwo Empire was Feng Wu, and Feng Wu was the patriarch's junior sister. Just then, the king heard an authoritative voice. It belonged to the patriarch. Hearing that, the king nodded immediately. Everyone looked at him. The king told Feng Wu, the master told me not to tell anyone about you being his junior sister. Otherwise, you'll be in danger. Please keep it a secret. Feng Wu nodded earnestly. She recalled what the old master said about the feud between his senior and junior brothers, as well as the fact that her master had kept him from the others. All in all, there had to be more to it. Meanwhile, Hu Yanqin stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. No way. What did he just hear? The patriarch's junior sister? Feng Wu. How is that possible? Just then, the king turned his cold gaze on Hu Yanqin. The look in his eyes was so indecipherable that it gave Hu Yanqin the creeps. He stumbled back and wanted to run away. He felt a fatal fear. Hu Yanqin's muscles tensed up and his heart raced. He wasn't stupid. On the contrary, he was very smart. He could tell from the king's words that the patriarch wanted the king to keep it a secret, and he might be killed because of it. Feng Wu glanced at the king and shook her head. I have faith in him. The look in the king's eyes was still very stern. Feng Wu became serious as well. She turned to the king and said, If Hu Yanqin becomes the leak, I'll talk to your patriarch. Your Majesty, please do me a favor. Seeing that Feng Wu insisted, the king nodded. All right. Hu Yanqin's clothes were soaked with sweat, and he felt as if he had been pulled out of the water. Feng Wu calmly said goodbye to the king and dragged Hu Yanqin out. I was so scared. Hu Yanqin was almost in tears. Holding Feng Wu's hand, he looked touched. If it hadn't been for you, I would have died here today. His Majesty really wanted to silence me, and he didn't try to hide it. Hu Yanqin could understand that. Everyone in the Northern Yin Kingdom would do whatever the patriarch said, but he had almost become the sacrifice. Feng Wu was curious as well. I see that my senior brother is a very prominent figure in the Northern Yin Kingdom. Hu Yanqin immediately covered her mouth. My dear girl, please don't call him your senior brother. I'm going to get killed. Feng Wu smiled bitterly. Fine. I won't mention him. But it's true. If word gets out, it'll be very dangerous for me. Once other people found out that she was Mu Jiuzhou's last pupil, they would do anything to get what they wanted. Back then, The secret manual alone was enough to wipe out the Zhua and Hua families. Chapter 3883. Chapter 3883. Don't tell other people, too. Chapter 3883. Don't tell other people, too. Let's go back to the shop. Feng Wu and Huyen Chen were about to go back to the shop when they heard a shrilling voice. Oh my, who are they? They're fighting in the Imperial Palace. What kind of place do they think this is? Feng Wu and Huyen Chen turned around involuntarily and saw a large group of people walking toward them, and they all surrounded the two people in the front. Feng Wu recognized the leader right away. It was Princess Rao. As for the person who had spoken, it was the 7th princess. She knew how to fawn on Raoshi since she was little and had been using Raoshi as an excuse to bully other people. Oh my, I was wondering who it was. Isn't it Huyen Chen? You're finally willing to step into the Imperial Palace. What did you say back then? You swore that you would never set foot in the Imperial Palace again. The 7th princess covered her mouth and smirked. Huyen Chen wouldn't let her win. He smirked and said, I was wondering who it could be. So, it's the Vanguard Princess that Princess Raoshi was talking about. Many people didn't understand it, but Princess Raoshi narrowed her eyes and stared at Huyen Chen. How'd he know that? The 7th princess frowned. What Vanguard? I don't get it. Huyen Chen chuckled. That's easy. The poem says the king's vanguard. Princess Raoshi is the king, and you're the vanguard. Feng Wu laughed. That was to say, seeing that everyone on Princess Reiwa's side was staring at her, Feng Wu immediately waved her hands. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. The 7th princess didn't get it, so she couldn't say anything. She only stared at Feng Wu. What does he mean? What does that phrase mean? Princess Raoshi gave Feng Wu a warning look, but Feng Wu acted as if she didn't see it. She said to the 7th princess, Isn't that obvious? It's from the poem Buoshi, and the whole line goes like this. My noble husband is now martial-like, the hero of the country. My husband, grasping his halberd, is in the leading chariot of the king's host. Staring at Feng Wu, the 7th princess frowned and asked, What's that supposed to mean? Explain it. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Huyen Chen smirked. Can't you understand? In other words, you're the most capable warrior in our country. With a weapon in your hand, you're the king's pawn. Charge! Feng Wu chuckled again. But the 7th princess's face was scarlet red. How dare you? The 7th princess couldn't stand it and wanted to hit Feng Wu. However, Huyen Chen only smiled at her and wasn't intimidated at all. Maybe he didn't dare to offend the princess before, but now. Xiao Wu was the junior sister of the patriarch. Why should he be afraid? Raoshi frowned and gave Huyen Chen a suspicious look. She felt that Huyen Chen had changed. He seemed to have become more confident all of a sudden. Whose power did he rely on? Meanwhile, Huyen Chen was trying to lure Princess Raoshi into his trap. He said to the 7th princess, There's no use yelling at me. I dare you to yell at your king. You. The 7th princess was furious. She wanted to slap Huyen Chen. However, Huyen Chen wasn't someone to be trifled with. He grabbed the princess's raised hand. Chapter 3884. Chapter 3884. Feng Wu vs. Princess Raoshi 1. Chapter 3884. Feng Wu vs. Princess Raoshi 1. Huyen Chen grabbed the 7th princess's hand. Huyen Chen, how dare you? The princess was furious. However, Huyen Chen only sneered at her. What do you think? You. The 7th princess turned around and shouted. Are you all dead? Get over here. Take him and her down. She pointed at Feng Wu, trying to grab her as well. Huyen Chen glanced at her and smirked inwardly. She has no idea what she's doing. Wait, said Princess Raoshi. Instantly, all eyes were on her. Meanwhile, Princess Raoshi moved closer and stopped in front of Feng Wu. There was a cold look in her eyes when she asked, You look familiar. May I ask who you are? Feng Wu smiled at her. Her gaze was sharper than Princess Raoshi's, and she didn't show any weakness. Next to her, the seventh princess was a little intimidated by Feng Wu's demeanor and wondered who could outshine Raoshi. Princess Raoshi smiled. Why do I feel that you don't look like someone from the Northern Yin Kingdom? Feng Wu said indifferently. Is that so? Princess Raoshi asked. Are you from the Junwu Empire? That was to say, Princess Raoshi had recognized Feng Wu. She was able to remain calm after recognizing Feng Wu. That was how shrewd Princess Raoshi was. Feng Wu nodded. Princess Raoshi, have we met before? Princess Raoshi smiled. Someone showed me your portrait. That's all. Feng Wu chuckled. So, you went after me with my portrait? Princess Raoshi frowned. She had recognized the person as Feng Wu. The one she was going to kill, for Feng Wu, was so unparalleled and easy to recognize. Princess Raoshi gritted her teeth. She couldn't wait to see Feng Wu dead, but in a public place like this, she had to behave like a princess. Yes, she wasn't as pretty as Feng Wu, but she didn't want to lose to Feng Wu either. Princess Raoshi chuckled. Miss Feng Wu, you're so funny. I don't know where you heard that. Feng Wu kept her unblinking gaze on Raoshi without saying a word. Her stare made Raoshi furious. That look made her feel like a criminal. Since that was the case, Princess Raoshi decided not to maintain her elegance anymore. She glanced at Hu Yenichen and frowned. This isn't the place for you. Apologize to Seven and get out of here. Apologize? Hu Yenichen gave her a contemptuous look and pretended that he didn't hear her. Princess Raoshi didn't want to lose face in front of Feng Wu, but Hu Yenichen's attitude made her feel utterly humiliated. She glared at Hu Yenichen. Do you know what crime you've committed by disrespecting me? Hu Yenichen said, You're not the king. Why should I be accused of disrespecting you? Don't flatter yourself. Princess Raoshi smirked. You've disrespected the princess of the royal family, which is the same as disrespecting my father. Isn't that disrespectful? Wang Yi was Princess Raoshi's guard. Hearing that, Wang Yi walked up to Hu Yenichen. He was ready to take Hu Yenichen down. Of course, Hu Yenichen wouldn't let that happen. He fought back right away. However, Wang Yi was an exceptional cultivator. Feng Wu saw that he had reached the peak of the spiritual overlord stage. Chapter 3885. Chapter 3885. Feng Wu vs. Princess Raoshi 2. Chapter 3885. Feng Wu vs. Princess Raoshi 2. With Feng Wu's help, Hu Yenichen had only just become a junior spiritual overlord. How could he possibly be Wang Yi's match? With one strike, Wang Yi caught Hu Yenichen's arm and was going to pin it behind his back. Princess Raoshi and the seventh princess looked at each other, and both saw satisfaction in each other's eyes. However, the seventh princess still held some grudges against Princess Raoshi because of the whole king and vanguard thing. While Raoshi was gloating, someone charged at Hu Yenichen. The next moment, there was a scream and a figure smashed into Princess Raoshi. The person who screamed wasn't Hu Yenichen, but Wang Yi. Feng Wu grabbed Wang Yi and threw him at Princess Raoshi's face. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to handle that momentum. As expected, at that close distance, Princess Raoshi didn't have time to react. She screamed. The next second, both she and Wang Yi flew backward and fell to the ground. By then, everybody saw that Wang Yi and Princess Raoshi had their arms around each other. Wang Yi was on top, and Princess Raoshi was on the bottom. They didn't stop after falling and kept sliding forward. The seventh princess was so shocked that she couldn't do anything. Oh God, was it still that Raoshi she feared the most? Raoshi had been knocked over, and her guard was on top of her while everybody was watching. Oh God, Princess Raoshi's perfect image seemed to shatter a little. After sliding for over 10 meters, they smashed into a thorny fence. Ah! Princess Raoshi screamed in pain. She was almost in tears. They finally stopped. She asked Hu Yenichen, Are you all right? Wang Yi grabbed his wrist just then, and Feng Wu saw that it was red and swollen. However, all Hu Yenichen could see was what had happened to Princess Raoshi. Gosh, Feng Wu, you're amazing. He had said that he was going to protect her, but as it turned out, he was the one being protected. On second thought, he realized that the patriarch's junior sister was nothing but a powerful patron for him. Are you really that capable? Hui Chen looked at Feng Wu in amazement. Feng Wu nodded. Hui Chen was almost in tears. A peak spiritual overlord. She was only in her teens, but she was already a peak spiritual overlord. How could anyone compare to her? Are you all right? Feng Wu glanced at Hui Chen's hand again. Hui Chen waved his hand. I'm fine. Of course I'm fine. But I can't say the same for Princess Raoshi. Feng Wu said calmly. It was self-defense, wasn't it? As expected, Zhao, the king's most capable servant, was standing behind Feng Wu. Zhao had seen it when the king addressed Feng Wu as his Ant Master. He knew what he should do. He nodded when he heard the question. By then, Princess Raoshi was finally helped to her feet. She had never been mistreated like this before. She walked up to Feng Wu, threw off the help of the others, and raised her hand to slap the ladder. She was furious. She had always been willful, so she decided to stop pretending. However, Chapter 3886 Chapter 3886 Against Princess Raoshi 1 Chapter 3886 Against Princess Raoshi 1 Raoshi raised her hand, trying to slap Feng Wu. However, Feng Wu was too capable to sit still and let other people slap her. Therefore, when Raoshi was about to slap Feng Wu, the latter followed Raoshi's momentum and struck down. The next second, Raoshi spun around like a top. She spun over and over again. She couldn't stop spinning. The seventh princess opened her eyes wide and stared at the scene in disbelief. No, it couldn't be. Oh God, even the aloof Raoshi would end up in such a sorry state. She must want to stop now. How embarrassing. But no. Under everyone's gaze, Raoshi kept spinning. 10, 20, 30. She didn't stop until she became dizzy and fell to the ground. Everyone was speechless. How dare you? Raoshi's maids bellowed at Feng Wu. Feng Wu recognized them. They were Caixia and Muley. Feng Wu still remembered how Caixia tried to kill her that night. Right now, she was slapping Caixia's master for fun. Feng Wu smiled a little. Caixia found the girl rather familiar. She found the ugly girl at Hui Chen's place familiar, and this stunning girl looked just as familiar. What was going on? By then, Raoshi had finally recovered. She stared at Feng Wu and smirked. Do you really think no one can stop you? Feng Wu shrugged without saying a word. Raoshi turned to Zhao. Zhao, why should we leave such a person alive? Zhao smiled bitterly at Raoshi. Kill her. His Majesty would probably kill the princess first. However, Zhao was too smart to say such hurtful words. He would only smile at Raoshi and ask her to calm down. It just so happened that he had been standing by Feng Wu's side the whole time, as if he was guarding her. Raoshi was furious. The palm print on Raoshi's face was swollen. She stared at Zhao with a grim look on her face. Zhao, don't you want to see the future? The future, Zhao thought. Do you mean after you, Princess Raoshi, take the throne? I don't think so. Zhao smiled at Raoshi, pretending that he couldn't understand her. Raoshi had made it very clear, but Zhao still didn't seem to understand her. She realized that Zhao wasn't going to help her. Fine. Raoshi pointed at Feng Wu and Zhao. I'm going to see my father. Feng Wu and Zhao exchanged looks, and Feng Wu shrugged. Just then, Raoshi turned around and pointed at Feng Wu. Just wait and see. Just you wait. After that, Raoshi picked up her skirt and rushed toward the study. She needed her father's help. Caixia and the others sneered at Feng Wu, thinking that she was doomed. The seventh princess smirked. So, you're Feng Wu of the Junwu Empire. I've heard of your name before, and I know you're famous in the Junwu Empire. Chapter 3887 Chapter 3887 Against Princess Raoshi 2 Chapter 3887 Against Princess Raoshi 2 But this is the Northern Yin Kingdom, and the person you've beaten up is one of the future heirs to the throne." The seventh princess smirked. "How bold of you. I like to see how you're going to get out of this after my father arrives." However, Fengwu only glanced at her and remained unperturbed. "Gosh, are we just going to stand here? My legs are a little tired." Fengwu looked at Zhao in grievance. The seventh princess glanced at Fengwu and smirked. "Get tired just by standing there? You're a spiritual overlord who can beat Raoshi up. Stop lying. Moreover, everyone here is more prestigious than a nobody from the Junwu Empire. Do you think you get a chair?" However, with a wave of his hand, a young eunuch showed up and crouched down in front of Fengwu. Fengwu looked from the obedient eunuch to Zhao and shook her head. Of course, she knew what Zhao meant, but she couldn't sit on a eunuch's back like everyone else in the Imperial Palace. Zhao immediately took Fengwu's hint. Luckily, he was well prepared. As soon as the young eunuch knelt, Zhao told another eunuch to fetch a chair. As expected, the young eunuch returned shortly afterward. He didn't dare to breathe loudly when he put the chair down in front of Fengwu. He only caught his breath after he stepped back. Zhao straightened his chair and invited Fengwu to sit down. "Miss Feng, please have a seat." Fengwu nodded and sat down. The seventh princess's eyes widened. Her eyes were big and round to begin with, and they almost popped out now. What was going on? She couldn't understand it. She couldn't understand why Fengwu, a nobody from the Junwu Empire, could be treated like this by Zhao, who was her father's most trusted servant. The king never said anything, so Zhao represented how the king felt about Fengwu. In that case, was it because she was pretty? Was it because her father liked Fengwu and wanted to make her his consort? Was that it? At that thought, the seventh princess wanted to scream. Why? She wouldn't have it. Hence, the look she gave Fengwu became even more fierce. Fengwu was confused. What was this princess doing? Why did she look like she was going to lose her mind? By then, Raoshi had reached the king. "Father," Raoshi sobbed like a poor girl. The king was going through the memorials to the throne when he saw a person kneeling in front of him and crying like a poor kitten. Who else could it be but his Raoshi? "How did you—" The king helped Raoshi to her feet. Seeing her crying, he softened a little and wasn't as displeased with her anymore. "What's going on?" The king frowned. Raoshi happened to look up at that moment. Her cheeks were swollen, and it was obvious that she had been slapped. Her clothes were also smeared with dirt. The king couldn't believe his eyes. Why did Raoshi look like she had been beaten up? Chapter 3888. Chapter 3888. Against Princess Raoshi 3. Chapter 3888. Against Princess Raoshi 3. Wasn't she supposed to be the one beating people up? No one in the Imperial Palace could touch her. The prince was there as well, and he was surprised to see Raoshi like this. How could it have been? No human being would dare to pick on her. What happened? The king frowned and looked displeased. After all, she was his daughter. He could teach her a lesson himself, but other people— Of course, the king wasn't happy. "Father, please help me," Raoshi wailed and held the king's hand. The king's face darkened. "Speak. Who did this to you?" As she sobbed, Raoshi said, "Someone hit me just because she's a spiritual overlord." The king said, "You have more than one spiritual overlord to protect you." Raoshi said, "That person is a peak spiritual overlord." Raoshi didn't want to reveal Fengwu's cultivation level because she felt too humiliated. Raoshi considered herself to be the most talented girl in the kingdom. After cultivating for so long and using so many spiritual medicines from the Northern Yan Kingdom, she was only a spiritual overlord at most. However, Wang Yi had just told her that Fengwu was at the peak of the spiritual overlord stage, which almost made Raoshi jealous. The king frowned. Only a handful of people are at the peak of the spiritual overlord stage in the palace. Who would dare to pick on you? Go get them. I'll talk to them. He could teach Princess Raoshi a lesson, but if someone tried to pick on her because they were too powerful, he wouldn't let it happen. Hearing that, Raoshi was elated. She had thought that Feng Wu had something to depend on, which was why she had been so arrogant. As it turned out, she didn't. Father, I'll go get her now. A nobody from the Junwu Empire can't behave so arrogantly in northern Yin. After that, Raoshi quickly walked away, feeling very pleased. Stop. Hearing that, the king rose to his feet and stared at Raoshi. Did you just say the Junwu Empire? Are you talking about Feng Wu? Raoshi nodded. That's right. Seeing the look on her father's face, Raoshi suddenly felt uneasy. She asked gingerly, Father, what's wrong? The king didn't answer her. Instead, he said with a straight face, I'll go with you. Raoshi was elated, and all her doubts were gone. She smiled through her tears. Yes. When the king and Raoshi arrived, Feng Wu was sunbathing in boredom and almost fell asleep. The others didn't know what to say when they saw how calm Feng Wu was. The prince came with Emperor Yin as well. He was just a bystander. However, his heart skipped a beat when he saw her exquisite profile. No, no, no. The prince looked away and tried to remind himself not to look at her or think about her. However, he couldn't help but steal a glance at Feng Wu. He couldn't control himself. How could there be such a woman in this world? Why did she look so attractive even when she was dozing off? Father, the seventh princess greeted the king. The others followed suit. Feng Wu woke up in a daze when she heard the noise, but she still wiped the corner of her mouth. The sun was a little dazzling, so Feng Wu raised a hand to block the light. Her gaze then landed on Princess Raoshi, who was standing behind the king. She saw. Chapter 3889. Chapter 3889. Oh God, one. Chapter 3889. Oh God, one. Feng Wu rubbed her sleepy eyes and saw that the emperor was standing right in front of her. Behind him was Princess Raoshi. Right now, she was staring at Feng Wu. She stared at Feng Wu with a malicious look in her eyes and smirked as if she thought that Feng Wu was doomed. Feng Wu glanced at the king impatiently when she saw him. Everyone's stomach lurched when they saw the look on Feng Wu's face. Impatient? Impatient with a king? That couldn't be. They had to be mistaken. Seeing Feng Wu's darkened face, the king panicked. The eldest prince didn't know, but the king had heard a rumor that their patriarch was Mu Jiuzhou's pupil. Although it was only a rumor and wasn't widespread, the king believed it. His father was the one who had spread the rumor. The rumor passed down in the royal family might not be a rumor, but a secret history. The king was already convinced when he saw how close the patriarch and his junior sister were. If she really was the final pupil of Master Mu Jiuzhou, the king's knees buckled, and he almost dropped to the ground. Meanwhile, Raoshi gave Feng Wu a sidelong glance and curled her little finger. Kneel and kowtow to me. Before Feng Wu could say anything, the king bellowed, Raoshi. That voice made Raoshi jump, and she stared at the king in bewilderment. The king shouted, Kneel. Princess Raoshi was speechless. Things had happened so fast. Raoshi didn't realize what had happened. She only stared at the king in bewilderment. All she could think of was the same question. Why? 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 Feng Wu glanced at Raoshi, but didn't say anything. She only crossed her arms and watched her quietly. The look in the king's eyes had never been so stern and fierce. His intimidating power swept toward Raoshi like a mountain pressing down on her, making her tremble, and her knees buckled. She had seen her father losing his temper before, but she had never been the target. Raoshi knew very well that when her father was infuriated if she went against him, she would end up in a miserable state. She had seen with her own eyes how her father's favorite concubine had talked back to him and ended up getting killed. Father, without hesitation, Raoshi dropped to her knees. She was trembling from fear. When infuriated, her father would do anything. Raoshi trembled inwardly. Not at me. Although the king's voice was calm, it was bone-chillingly cold. Princess Raoshi was astonished. So were the others. Zhao, the eunuch on Feng Wu's side, didn't think much of it. Although he knew who Feng Wu really was, he didn't realize that he had underestimated her. As for Raoshi's people, they were almost driven crazy by the news. It was so terrifying. Who on earth was this person? Why did Princess Raoshi have to kneel down and apologize to her? Even an ordinary princess shouldn't be asked to do that, not to mention that Raoshi was the crown prince-to-be. This wasn't something she could take lightly. In the crowd, only Chapter 3890. Chapter 3890. Oh God, too. Chapter 3890. Oh God, too. In the crowd, only the seventh princess nodded. Yes, it had to be what she had guessed. At that moment, Raoshi finally realized that her father meant it. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she felt so wronged. But in the end, she still whispered something to Fengwu. Fengwu looked at her and smiled. Princess Raoshi, what did you say? Raoshi gritted her teeth, but she had to raise her voice. I'm sorry. Fengwu smiled at her. Who are you apologizing to? Raoshi knew that Fengwu did it on purpose, but with her father's support, Fengwu would win no matter what. Raoshi thought, forget it. It's never too late for me to take my revenge. Fengwu, just wait and see. As expected of Princess Raoshi, once she changed her attitude, she could speak much more freely. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she looked very aggrieved. Miss Fengwu, I don't know what I did to offend you, but since you said that I was wrong, I'm sorry. After that, Raoshi glanced at her father and burst into tears. The king felt sorry for Raoshi. However, Fengwu only smiled at her. Don't you know what you've done to offend me? Didn't you want to kill me? Raoshi's stomach lurched. She knew. However, Raoshi still looked as if she had been wronged. She said aggrievedly, Miss Fengwu, where did you hear that rumor? I've never met you before, so why should I feel resentful? Why should I want you? The king also looked at Fengwu suspiciously. Rubbing her chin, Fengwu said calmly, I want to know why you want to kill me, too. You can tell me when you've made up your mind. Fengwu rose to her feet after that. Raoshi shouted after Fengwu, Miss Fengwu, I've never sent anyone after you. I'm afraid you've misunderstood. If there really is such a rumor, someone is trying to frame me, and he'll get the greatest benefit. Miss, please be wise and don't let other people fool you. Was that a hint that either Fengwu had slandered her or the eldest prince had done it? The prince was furious. Do you think I need to slander a kid like you? Fengwu waved at Raoshi impatiently and left. Raoshi was furious. Fengwu was treating Raoshi as if the latter was an annoying kid of the family. That was so frustrating. The king threw a dirty look at Raoshi. After the others left, the seventh princess walked up to Raoshi and whispered, I am a why father is biased toward her. Raoshi frowned and glanced at her. The seventh princess whispered something in Raoshi's ear. The next second, Raoshi frowned. That's impossible. She shook her head. But the seventh princess said affirmatively, it has to be. Look, Fengwu is so pretty. Have you seen anyone like her before? Right? Raoshi threw a dirty look at her and turned to leave. But the seventh princess ran after her and said, So, I think father is definitely infatuated with her and wants to make her his concubine. She's so pretty. If she's like this before she goes to court, our father will believe everything she says in the future. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.